Chapter 1370, Break the Array. Li Yu was overjoyed and quickly kowtowed. Thank you, King. She stood up, pointed to the direction of Heshi, Nangong Yu and Xian Mu in the white mist array with incomparable precision, and said in a crisp voice, King, I'm transformed from Yumin bird. We are born with the most sensitive 5 senses, so I will never sense it wrong. 2 soul-splitting stages, 1 meridian stage peak stage, really interesting combination. The man in a red robe raised his eyebrows and said with a smile, okay, as you wish. In the confinement space. The elders of the Doctors' Association looked at Nangong Yu suspiciously and distrustfully. Although this person seemed to have a good cultivation base, his appearance didn't look good. His body didn't exude any aura at all. He didn't look like a person who can break such a powerful array. Elder Qi sneered and said, with just 7 gold core stage, do you really think you can break the array? You are simply overreaching yourself. In the confinement space, there were 7 people standing in 7 directions. Most of them belonged to Huang Medical Branch, but because there were too few people from the Huang Medical Branch, they could only rely on other branches to make up the number. For example, Wei Chengyuan, Han Qianer, etc., and there were also students who were rescued by Heshi when they were searched for souls. In Miracle Healer Academy, the person who had the deepest grudge against Shi Yu was the people from Heaven Medical Branch. When they saw that Wei Chengyuan and Han Qianer, the most outstanding members of their branch, actually went to help their enemies, they all had extremely ugly faces. Hearing Elder Qi's words, they all showed mocking expressions. But then, something that shocked everyone happened. As the metal magical weapons in these people's hands attacked, the originally thick white mist retreated tens of meters away. Obviously, this attack was effective. The few people standing at the array eyes were overjoyed. They quickly increased the output of spiritual power according to the instructions. Heshi leaned against Nangong Yu. Seeing that he and Xian Mu had settled the array eyes, just waiting for these 7 gold core stage friends to completely break the confinement, she couldn't help smiling a little. I didn't expect you to be able to even crack the confinement space. Nangong Yu smirked slightly. He glanced at Xian Mu, then he hugged the girl into his arms. Now you know how powerful your man is. Heshi's ear tips were slightly red, but her eyes were shining without refuting. Xian Mu glanced at them, inexplicably feeling very displeased. However, Nangong Yu said, this is not a real confinement space. Maybe the other party didn't expect that there would be me and that guy with such a level of cultivation, so he didn't hide the array center. This is why I can break the array. Otherwise, even I can't. Nangong Yu's face suddenly changed before he finished speaking. Immediately afterward, the thin white mist that had faded away suddenly thickened again. The boundary of the white mist returned to its original position. The 7 people who were in charge of breaking the array seemed to be attacked by something and fell to the ground. Although they were not seriously injured, they looked extremely ugly. Nangong Yu's eyes became dark for a moment, but a faint smile was evoked on his face. It was such an ordinary face, but it gave people a charming feeling for no reason. It's a pity. It seems that the master here doesn't want to let us out easily. Heshi's complexion also changed slightly. She soon understood it. The array center has been hidden. Before Nangong Yu answered, Heshi heard a low, charming and deep laughter from the air. Chapter 1371, Demi-Divine Beast. That laughter seemed to be careless and teasing, as if looking at children. It also sounded high above, but it also contained tolerant and pampering. Heshi only felt itchy in her ears, as if someone whispered in his ears, what a cute little girl. Nangong Yu's face turned grim. He hugged Heshi tightly into his arms, looking at a certain place in the space with cold and sharp eyes. Dare to tease my woman, this damn beastkin is simply tired of living. In the void, little golden dragon felt the powerful aura. He jumped up and shouted, damn, boss, this thing is actually a beastkin that exceeds rank 10. That's close to a divine beast. It's shit now. Since little golden dragon had been with little egg for a long time, he was more eloquent with modern vocabulary. He was slightly taken aback when he heard the words, divine beast. That's right, boss, if exceeding rank 10, he is already a demi-divine beast. Little Golden Dragon sighed, I didn't expect there to be a demi-divine beast in the mere Miluo continent. I really didn't expect it. But since he is already a demi-divine beast, why is he still staying here? He can go to a higher plane. Is he stupid? Heshi's mouth twitched, and she said angrily, Student Little Golden Dragon, I remember that you are only at rank 5 now, right? Aren't you ashamed to say that? The Little Golden Dragon jumped up and said, What's wrong with rank 5? It's only temporary. My inherited bloodline is much nobler than him. It is the rarest one. Back then, if I hadn't failed in the tribulation, I would have surpassed him a long time ago. I wouldn't even bat an eye on him. Heshi was amused. She comforted Little Golden Dragon several times to calm down the irritable guy. However, from the tone of this divine beast, she didn't seem to feel any malice. The next moment, Heshi heard the low voice with a smile saying, Feng Wuan, remember to listen to Li Yu and release your saviors. Then there was another stubborn and respectful voice, Yes, King. Everyone in the confinement space was caught off guard by this upheaval. No one reacted at all. The next moment, a misty figure appeared in the white mist. It was misty because everyone could see that he was a handsome young man, but one of his arms was severed. However, his figure seemed to have melted into the white mist, swaying gently with the mist without substance. Feng Wuan stared at the humans in front with anger and hatred burning in his vertical pupils. Although few of these people were the ones who imprisoned and tortured him. But because of that captivity, he already hated all human beings. Even, if it wasn't for that little girl Li Yu who insisted on saving her saviors, he even wanted to torture and kill everyone here. What kind of saviors? Maybe they just want to extract more value from us. Human beings are all selfish, greedy, vicious, and evil. In the past, I was so naive, so idiot, to believe in human beings. Until I was tortured by them to the present state and my only brother dies, I only woke up. No one noticed that when seeing Feng Wuan, Tong Bing showed a frightened and guilty expression on his face. He quietly moved a little closer behind Heshi and Xianmu, hiding in the shadows. It was also because he hid so quickly that Feng Wuan didn't notice him at all. Chapter 1372, Never Let Go. Feng Wuan took a deep breath. He revealed a sinister smile, then he looked coldly at Heshi, Nangongyu, and Xianmu. I don't care what your purpose is, but since King promised to let you go, then get the hell out of here now. As for you guys. Feng Wuan's smile slowly twisted. The flame of hatred made his handsome face look more terrifying than a devil. Humans, today this magical beast forest is your hell. After speaking, his image flickered, and a huge black hole appeared in front of the three of them. There was a strong pulling force in this black hole, and they were very close to the three of them. They could almost enter the hole with just a few steps forward while the others were still quite a distance away from the black hole. Heshi had already recognized that this young beastkin was one of the beastkins she had saved in the Mojing Pavilion time. She glanced at Nangongyu and Xianmu and asked with her eyes. Nangongyu narrowed his eyes slightly and said in a low voice, Let's go out first. Now the array center is hidden, we can only crack it from the outside. Heshi nodded. It was impossible for her to leave the people of the Huang medical branch behind, but staying here was really useless than going out. The three of them glanced at each other, and they quickly moved toward the looming black hole. In the crowd, someone suddenly exclaimed, That's the Xian Door teleportation array. They want to leave us here. As soon as the words sounded, everyone in the confinement space panicked. If it was a teleportation array, it meant that they could get out of this array and escape safely. How could they let go of this opportunity? However, at this time, Nangongyu and the others had already stepped into the entrance of the Taoist teleportation array with one foot, and they were about to disappear in it. Suddenly, a thin figure jumped out from the side, rushed toward Heshi and the others, and shouted anxiously, Brother Xianmu, be careful. It must be a beastkin's trap. You must not go in. It's Tong Bing. It turned out that in order to avoid Feng Wuan's sight, Tong Bing hid in the shadow behind Heshi. He was the closest to them. So when he saw that the three of them were about to step into the black hole, he rushed up with anxiety and madness. Heshi only felt a strong force coming from behind her. Of course, she didn't pay attention to this kind of strength. Her figure didn't move the slightest. However, when Tong Bing ran behind the three of them, he suddenly took out something from his arms and threw it viciously toward the black hole. Buzz, a sound that hurt the eardrums echoed in the air. Everyone showed painful expressions and covered their ears. The originally stable black hole teleportation array began to fluctuate. Nangong Yu and Xianmu were in front, and the black hole was shaking faintly as if it wanted to devour them and tear them apart. And Heshi hadn't had time to fully step into the teleportation array, but Nangong Yu had held one of her hands firmly. Crazy twisting power came from the Xian door teleportation array. Even Nangong Yu showed a painful expression. The mask on his face began to crack inch by inch, and blood overflowed from his mouth. However, he held Heshi's hand firmly, refusing to let go at all. Xianmu had already disappeared in the flickering light. Heshi realized the crazy loss of spiritual power in Nangong Yu's body, and she couldn't help shouting, "Let go, Nangong Yu. You will die if you stay like this." "I won't." Nangong Yu's face seemed to be covered with debris of disguise due to the cracking of the mask, but his voice was calm and cold. "Sheer, I told you before. I will never let go of your hand." Cough. Chapter 1373, Spy. The low cough made blood overflow from Nangong Yu's lips, and his meridians were also injured due to such strangulation. A hint of determination flashed in Heshi's eyes, but her gaze looking at Nangong Yu was full of tenderness and reluctance. The internal spiritual power was transmitted from the dantian to the meridians of the wrist, and the bones of the palm made a crackling sound. The originally weak and boneless hand seemed to have completely lost its skeleton and slipped out of Nangong Yu's tight grip. Nangong Yu's eyes widened suddenly with a look of horror and resentment. Heshi's body receded due to inertia, but her eyes were fixed on Nangong Yu. Her voice was low and soft, You go out first. I will wait for you to come back to me safely. Trust me." Zer. The Xian door teleportation array disappeared into the vast white mist. Nangong Yu and Xianmu disappeared, and Heshi was left behind in the confinement space. Her eyes were slightly cold. At the same moment, in the Toad Jade Palace in the depths of the magical beast forest, the king who was carelessly manipulating the Xian door teleportation array and the confinement space suddenly spat out a mouthful of blood. He sat on the chair with a pale face. "King!" Li Yu and Feng Wuan, who had just returned, screamed, and rushed up together, helping the man in a red robe who had fallen to the ground. The man's face was still as charming as a boy's, but there was a layer of bluish color appeared on his fair and flawless skin as if he had been poisoned by some kind of poison. "King, what is wrong? I'll ask the Dr. Taper to treat you immediately." The man in a red robe shook his head, but his eyes were gloomy as if a dark storm was brewing. "Someone threw a Sanskrit voodoo elusive silk into the Xian door teleportation array I opened up, and my spiritual power is sealed by 80%. "What?" In the confinement space, Heshi stared in the direction where the Xian door teleportation array disappeared with dark and piercing eyes. Although she told Nangong Yu to let go just now, the teleportation array was already unstable before that. It was unknown whether Nangong Yu and Xianmu were teleported out safely or they were flushed into the space turbulence. Moreover, Nangong Yu was injured so badly, yet she was trapped in this kind of place. "Shiyu, you'd better explain it right away. What did the beastkin mean just now? Why did these beastkin let the three of you out? Could it be that you are colluding with them? Shiyu, are you a spy sent by the beastkins?" Heshi turned around and found that almost everyone here, the students and elders, glared at her. Lu Jishi took a step forward. Her usually soft voice was full of coldness and condemnation. Shiyu, I know that you usually have conflicts with the people in our other branches. I can understand that you want to leave us behind to deliberately revenge on us. However, the people of the Huang medical branch admired you the most. How can you be so heartless to abandon them? Lu Zhishi's words won the support of most people of Miracle Healer Academy. Many had taken her for granted as an accomplice of the Beastkin. As the saying goes, people who are not of my race must have a different heart. Since Shiyu was on the Beastkin side, of course they wanted to get rid of her. Lu Zhishi, don't judge a gentleman's belly with the heart of a villain. We, Huang Medical Branch, never believed that Shiyu would abandon us. Suddenly, a voice sounded among the students of Huang Medical Branch. That was Qin Xiaofeng, the most eloquent and the highest IQ in Jin Ziyu's team. Chapter 1374, Abandon Your Ass at This time. He held down Qian Dazhuang, who was about to get rampant, and slowly walked forward with piercing eyes. You say that He Shi is an accomplice of the Beastkin? Do you have evidence? If no, why are you talking nonsense? Lu Zhishi didn't speak this time, and someone from Heaven Medical Branch immediately sneered. If she and Beastkin aren't accomplices, why did the Beastkin let the three of them out? Are you an idiot? Chen Xiaofeng sneered. Didn't you realize that the guards next to Shi Yu and Xian Mu are the strongest among all of us? Although Shi Yu's cultivation isn't high, his medical skills are superb. Besides, just now because of Shi Yu and the others, this array was almost broken. Didn't you think that it was a trick by Beastkin to deliberately transfer them away so that they could attack us? Everyone was stunned by this remark for a moment. Some students seemed to believe it. A dark light flashed in Lu Zhishi's eyes, but a soft smile appeared on her mouth. Since this is Beastkin's trick, then classmate Shiyu shouldn't have left all of us behind. Everyone in Huang Medical Branch is his loyal follower. Don't you all feel disappointed to be abandoned by the people you trust? In Shiyu's eyes, you are all abandoned. Abandon your ass. Qian Dazhuang, who was suppressed by Qin Xiaofeng, finally couldn't hold back his temper. He shouted loudly, Lu Zhishi, you black-hearted poisonous woman, you think everyone is like you. Even Kai Yu, who is so devoted to you, you can easily abandon him. There's nothing you can't do. Do we need you to tell me what kind of person Shiyu is? If it weren't because of Shiyu, the people of the Huang Medical Branch would still be trampled by you like mud. Even if Shiyu wants to leave first, so what? He doesn't owe us anything. Why can't he go out first? You actually have the nerve to sow discord here. Do you think we will let you, a vicious woman, get away with it? As soon as Qian Dazhuang said this, the people of the Huang Medical Branch immediately shouted. Yeah, Shiyu has helped us enough. What has Lu Zhishi done? How can you say that to Shiyu? Even if Shiyu goes out, I believe he will find a way to save us. If it weren't for Shiyu, our lives would be worse than death. Otherwise, I'd rather die here. The chattering voices echoed in Lu Zhishi's ears like harsh buzzing. Lu Zhishi's face was ashen, almost distorted. She saw the group of people in Huang Medical Branch looking at Shiyu with admiration and trust at this moment without any trace of resentment or anger in their eyes. Simply, worshipping him like a god. Even though they saw Shiyu abandoning them just now, this group of idiots still believe in Shiyu. Why? The students in other branches were also discussing at this time. Some believed that Shiyu was innocent, but most of them still condemned Shiyu for running away. Others mocked that she deserved to be left behind. At this moment, Wei Chengyuan came out with a livid face. His cold eyes swept over Lu Zhishi and finally fell on the pitiful Tong Bing before saying coldly, I think, have you guys figured out our situation yet? Do you know what is confinement space? He picked up a stone and threw it into the white mist, and the stone bounced back suddenly. The stone that was originally the size of a fist suddenly became half smaller in an instant, leaving terrible scratches on it. Chapter 1375. Not on purpose. Seeing the half-sized stone and looking at the corpses not far away, everyone's expressions became extremely ugly. Wei Chengyuan kicked the stone away, then he continued with an ugly face, the so-called confinement space has almost no array eyes and center. Just now He and the others were able to find the array center because the other party was not on guard against our ability to break the array. But now the array center has been completely hidden, which means that this place is a completely airtight space. We have absolutely no way to escape now. Do you guys understand? The students of Miracle Healer Academy looked at each other. Some didn't understand what Wei Chengyuan meant. But an elder beside Lu Zhishi's face turned livid in an instant, and he exclaimed in shock, Are you telling the truth? Am I telling the truth? You can try it yourself. Wei Chengyuan sneered, and his voice became even angry. Originally, if you and the others can escape smoothly, even if they are teleported far away, as long as they come back, they will be able to help us out. The confinement space is complicated, but it is possible to crack it outside the array. But now, the teleportation array was destroyed. Shiyu was left here, and Xianmu and the another one were swallowed by the void turbulence. We don't even know if they can make it alive. Do you know what this means? It means that if Xianmu and the anther really can't come back, we will be trapped to death in this confinement space. As soon as these words came out, everyone panicked. Even Lu Zhishi looked nervously at the elder beside him who was best at arrays, hoping that he could refute Wei Chengyuan's words. However, the elder was more frightened and flustered than she was. His eyes were full of despair. At this moment, someone suddenly looked at Tong Bing and shouted angrily, I saw it, this guy is the one who destroyed the teleportation array. As this person pointed, Tong Bing, who had been huddled in the corner, suddenly fell into everyone's sight. Tong Bing trembled visibly. His eyes were red. He looked at the crowd with fear and panic and kept shaking his head, No. No. I didn't mean it, I just wanted to save Brother Xianmu and Brother Shiyu. I thought that black hole was a beastskin's trap that will kill Brother Xianmu, that's why I stopped it. I really didn't mean it. Woo woo woo. The people who were angry and disgusted by Tong Bing were those from the Huang medical branch. Qian Dazhuang had already yelled directly, You did it on purpose. You only know crying all day long, I wonder how you get admitted to the Miracle Healer Academy. If it weren't for you, Shiyu and the others would have gone out. Say, are you jealous of Shiyu, so you purposely hold him back? People in other branches also looked at Tong Bing with righteous indignation. Their eyes were full of anger. Tong Bing shook his head desperately, and tears fell down. He ran to Shiyu in a panic, knelt down and begged, Shiyu, trust me, I really didn't mean it. You're my savior. How could I hurt you? Shiyu, please trust me and tell them clearly, okay? He sneered and said slowly, Oh. Then can you tell me first, what is it that you threw at the teleportation array? Wei Chengyuan also said with a gloomy expression, the Xian door teleportation array is connected with the fundamental essence of the array caster, so it is not easy to destroy it. I'm also curious, what method did you use to destroy the teleportation array? Chapter 1376, Big Grievance, I don't know either. A panic flashed in Tong Bing's eyes, and it quickly disappeared, turning into pleading and pitiful again, I was panicking just now, so I didn't even know what I had done. But Shiyu, I really didn't mean to harm you, He smirked. Her eyes were as deep as hell. She suddenly raised her hand. Tong Bing let out a painful wail and fell backward. He's voice was as cold as hell. Shura, I don't care if you are intentional or not. You dare to hurt my man, and you still want me to forgive you. You must be having a beautiful dream. Tong Bing raised his head abruptly with tears in his deer-like eyes. The eyes were full of disbelief and hatred hid in the depths. When Qian Dazhuang and others saw He making a move, they immediately shouted excitedly, Everyone follow me, beat this bastard to death. That's right, beat him to death. It's this guy who caused us to be trapped here. Damn it, I've been wanting to beat up this motherfucker sissy for a long time. The people of Huang Medical Branch rushed forward. They just punched and kicked Tong Bing without using spiritual power. Later, even the disgruntled people from other branches also rushed forward. Tong Bing kept wailing and begging for mercy, saying that he was innocent. Why didn't everyone believe him? Seeing that the students filled with righteous indignation were about to beat Tong Bing to death, Lu Zhishi's eyes flashed. She suddenly stepped forward and said, "Stop. Shiyu, everyone is a student of Miracle Healer Academy, how could you be so cruel? Even if he did something wrong, it wasn't intentional. Do you really want him to be beaten to death?" As Lu Zhishi said, she made an eye gesture to the elders beside her. The elders immediately understood. They suddenly flew up and rushed toward the crowd. The next moment, the students who beat Tong Bing were thrown away by these elders. Tong Bing, who was dying with a swollen face, was brought in front of Lu Zhishi. Lu Zhishi looked at the pitiful young man at her feet with a trace of contempt in her eyes, but a soft and compassionate expression appeared on her face. She squatted down, looked at Tong Bing, who was moaning and shivering quietly, and sighed softly, "Poor child, you followed Shiyu so wholeheartedly, but he actually treats you like this. Such a heartless person, if we really let him go out, will he really return to save us?" Sigh. Lu Zhishi's words made the faces of Miracle Healer Academy students and elders change. Human nature is selfish. If Shiyu escaped from the trap, would she really take the risk to save them? They felt that if they escaped with great difficulty, they would definitely not come back. After all, even if it was more possible to break the confinement space from the outside, there were also many beastkins outside the array. Thinking about it this way, their eyes on Heshi became complicated and suspicious. At this time, Lu Zhishi had already covered Tong Bing with a healing spiritual power. Tong Bing originally suffered only minor injuries. After Lu Zhishi's treatment, he quickly recovered. It was just that his clothes had become tattered. His eyes were red. His face was full of sadness as if he had suffered a great grievance. Tong Bing looked at Heshi with the pain of being betrayed. He choked up with tears, "Brother Shiyu, I know it was my fault that you were abandoned by Brother Xianmu, so you hate me very much, but I really didn't mean it." Chapter 1377, Hostage. Moreover, Brother Xianmu is so powerful. He will definitely be able to escape safely, and he can also crack the array that seals the space. Although Brother Xianmu may not come to rescue the rest of us, as long as you are still here, Brother Xianmu, I will definitely try to save you. You really don't have to be so afraid, and you don't have to anger me like that. As soon as Tong Bing said this, the eyes of the elders of Heaven Medical Branch and Doctors Association lit up. Elder Qi was even more excited. "That's right, as long as we keep Shiyu here as a hostage, should we be afraid that Xianmu and that Shiyu's guard won't crack the confinement space and rescue us?" Lu Zhishi half-smile glanced at Shiyu, then she sincerely thanked Tong Bing. "It's really thanks to Tong Bing. Otherwise, we would have been abandoned by Shiyu and the others and be left to death here." Most of the people in Heaven Medical Branch and the Pioneer Branch followed Lu Zhishi's lead. Hearing what she said, they immediately gathered around Tong Bing and complimented him like a hero. Tong Bing's cheeks flushed with excitement, and his body trembled slightly. Before that, he had always been depressed, cowardly, and humble. After entering Miracle Healer Academy, he was scolded as trash and tried to kiss everyone's ass. This was the first time he had received compliments and affirmations from others. This kind of blissful feeling made him feel like he was in a dream. Tong Bing even thought that he was no worse than Shiyu. If Brother Xianmu is here now, seeing how popular I am, will he be impressed by me? When the people of the Huang Medical Branch saw this scene and saw several elders of the Doctors Association vaguely surrounding Shiyu as if they wanted to control her as a hostage, all of them suddenly became angry. Qian Dazhuang said furiously, "That ungrateful white-eyed wolf, I will kill him right now." But he was immediately pulled back by Jin Ziyu, whose eyes were dark and cold, but his voice was very calm. "Now it's clear that Lu Zhishi wants to protect him, so what if you rush over there? Someone will take care of such a scum." At this moment, Elder Qi walked up to Shiyu all of a sudden and said arrogantly, Shiyu, in order to prevent you from taking the opportunity to escape through the teleportation array, I must abolish your cultivation so that you have no chance of escaping. You want to surrender obediently or let me do it? The people of the Huang medical branch were going crazy when they heard this. Jin Ziyu lowered his face and said, Shiyu didn't do anything wrong, why do you want to abolish his cultivation? Or do you mean that the elders of Miracle Healer Academy are dead now, so you people of the Doctors Association can do anything to us at will? You, presumptuous. Elder Qi didn't expect that he would be humiliated by a brat. He was fuming immediately, I did this for everyone's benefit. If this Shiyu escapes, we will be trapped here to death. Jin Ziyu sneered, looking at him with contempt and irony. A high-rank martial artist from the nascent soul stage had to hold a foundation establishment stage young man as a hostage to save his life. It was really a laughingstock to say that. Elder Qi's eyes flashed a glint of ruthlessness, and he sneered, Today I'm going to abolish Shiyu's cultivation and take him as a hostage. I'll see who dares to oppose me. Really? Do you think I, Zheng Shouyue, can tolerate you doing that to my student? Do you think I'm dead? Zheng Shouyue, who had been silent with a livid face, finally erupted at this moment. He roared and released the powerful spiritual power pressure all over his body. Chapter 1378, Sudden Change. Elder Qi was caught off guard. He was pushed back a few steps by the spiritual pressure. He looked back at Zheng Shouyue with eyes full of surprise and doubt. Zheng Shouyue was also considered famous in the Miracle Healer Academy. When he was young, he was amazingly talented, but he was suddenly seriously injured in the pill refining. Since then, his cultivation had stagnated at the middle stage of the nascent soul stage. But now, the spiritual power unleashed by Zheng Shouyue was at least as powerful as that of the later stage of the nascent soul stage. It was even close to the peak of the nascent soul stage. Could it be that Zheng Shouyue actually hit his strength before? Zheng Shouyue knew to himself that his cultivation had indeed stagnated at the intermediate stage of the nascent soul stage for decades, and he was already in despair. However, after meeting Shiyu, everything changed quietly. Shiyu didn't even tell him that she was treating him. She just threw him a few bottles of medicinal pills for him to take from time to time, and she also prepared some medicinal baths for him to soak in. Then, unknowingly, after a few months, Zheng Shouyue discovered that his cultivation base began to rise crazily. Naturally, there was a reason why he had not been able to break through his accumulation for decades, but the person who brought about all these changes was Shiyu. So, how could Zheng Shouyue not protect such a student and benefactor? Elder Qi's gloomy face seemed to be covered by dark clouds. He never expected that Zheng Shouyue would dare to fight against the Doctors Association for a student. Elder Qi looked back at Lu Zhishi. Lu Zhishi's eyes were dark. Her eyes only conveyed one meaning, follow my father's instructions, Shiyu must die. Elder Qi waved to the other Doctors Association's elders, Shiyu is our hostage to leave here, we must first restrain him. Let's go together, otherwise Shiyu may escape through the teleportation array again. The elders of the Doctors Association jumped out immediately. There were 10 nascent soul stage elders. Although most of them were at the early stage of nascent soul, they had already made the hearts of Zheng Shouyue and Huang medical branch sank a little bit. She looked at these people who were coming toward her. Her eyes turned dark and cold. Hee, in order to kill me, a nobody at the foundation establishment stage, they actually sent 10 the Doctors Association's elders at the nascent soul stage. Lu Xiyang and his daughter really attach great importance to me. Elder Qi's eyes were as vicious as a poisonous snake, and he stared at Heshi, but there was contempt in his eyes as if he was looking at a dead object. He raised his hand slightly, then he waved down abruptly, get. Elder Qi hadn't finished speaking when there was a loud noise in the entire confinement space. The white mist that blocked everyone turned gray-black in an instant. There was a terrifying roar of beasts coming from the gray-black mist. The complexions of all the people in the confinement space turned extremely ugly in an instant. Time went back to 15 minutes before, deep in the magical beast forest, in the Toad Jade Palace. Feeling Wang's serious injury, all the beastkins ran in a panic. Dr. Taper had been hurriedly summoned to treat the man in a red robe, but the more he diagnosed, the more flustered and anxious he was. Dr. Taper, what happened to the king? Tell us. Dr. Taper was a middle-aged man in his 40s with a beard, but at this time, he almost plucked the beard from his face. It's Sanskrit voodoo elusive silk, it's really Sanskrit voodoo elusive silk. Human beings are abhorrent. They actually dare to use this vicious thing against our noble king. Chapter 1379, Eradicate. Feng Wan jumped up violently, and he shouted in a sharp voice, Li Yu, do you see this? This is the human being you want to repay kindness. If it wasn't for letting those 3 people go, would our king suffer such injuries and humiliation? Li Yu's face was pale, and her eyes were already red from crying. She looked at the king with purple lips, and her eyes were full of guilt and self-blame. King, it's all my fault, it's all my fault. Woo. If it wasn't for me, you wouldn't, okay? The man in a red robe interrupted Li Yu's self-reproach lightly, but his voice was somewhat gentle. It's just Sanskrit voodoo elusive silk. It can indeed cause me some trouble, but it still doesn't threaten me. Li Yu raised her head abruptly, bit his lip and said, King, is that true? The man in a red robe didn't answer him anymore, but he looked at the other beastkins and said in a deep voice, in order to expel the Sanskrit voodoo elusive silk from my body, I will go into closed-door dormancy for the next 12 hours. I will leave only the divine sense and spiritual power to maintain the confinement space. The group of humans in the confinement space are too insidious. Remember, they must be eradicated. All the beastkins quickly bowed their heads and respectfully said, As you order, King. Only Li Yu, thinking of Shi Yu who was still left in the confinement void, her eyes turned red again. She was the beastkin transformed by Yumin bird, so her 5 senses can cover a huge range. She saw clearly what happened in the confinement space just now. Obviously, that beautiful young man is kind. He was framed and wronged, but he was going to die in the confinement space. However, she had already injured the king once, how could she let the king let the boy go again? After the man in a red robe said these words, his mind had become tired. The poison of Sanskrit voodoo elusive silk had also begun to invade his lungs. He must retreat in seclusion immediately to force out the poison. In the process of forcing out the poison, he had no ability to resist. If someone attacked this Toad Jade Palace at this time, the consequences would be disastrous. No, it's impossible. The man in a red robe shook his head, suppressing the faint uneasiness in his mind. In the center of Toad Jade Palace, there was a heavenly mulberry sacred tree. As long as the power of the sacred tree could still cover Toad Jade Palace, his people would be safe. It wasn't until the man in a red robe entered the secret room and began to retreat that the beastkins were relieved. Feng Wan, on the other hand, looked toward the direction of the confinement space with hatred and anger burning in his eyes. These despicable human beings, not to mention they capture us, they even dared to hurt our king to such a degree. I will definitely let them suffer before death. After finishing speaking, Feng Wan jumped up and turned into a whirlwind and flew toward the confinement space. There was a painful struggle in Li Yu's eyes. She transformed into Yumin bird, also flying toward the confinement space. The heavenly mulberry sacred tree was located in the center of the magical beast forest. The tree was not tall and strong, but people who saw it would feel that it was breathtakingly beautiful. The heavenly mulberry sacred tree's leaves were silver. The flowers and fruits emitted colorful light. The soft light emitted from the heavenly mulberry sacred tree would cover a large area, and this area seemed to be protected by the forest god. No one could harm the people and creatures shrouded in the light of the sacred tree. They were not even allowed to destroy every plant and tree here. The palace of the beastkins was built within the area shrouded in the divine light, so as long as they didn't leave there, they could live in peace and joy forever. Chapter 1380, Heavenly Mulberry Sacred Tree. The divine light of Heavenly Mulberry Sacred Tree was powerful, but Heavenly Mulberry Sacred Tree itself was weak and could be hurt. Therefore, there would always be rank 8 and 9 beastkin guarding around the heavenly mulberry sacred tree. Xia Zhu was a rank 8 beastkin, and she had a soft temperament and no fighting power. Originally, Xia Zhu was not qualified to stay around the heavenly mulberry sacred tree, but because she was a beastkin transformed by the spirit purifying rabbit. The spirit purifying rabbit could purify the heavenly mulberry sacred tree very well, so she was allowed to approach the sacred tree. Xia Zhu also heard the news of King's injury at this time, and she walked in the forest worriedly. Suddenly, a figure flashed in front of him. "Who is it?" Xia Zhu snorted. "Where did you come from, little beastkin? Don't you know that you can't approach here?" The area where Xia Zhu was now was still some distance away from the heavenly mulberry sacred tree, but it was already a restricted area. "Xia Zhu, it's me." A slender and tall man slowly came out from behind the tree, looking at Xia Zhu attentively and gently. Xia Zhu screamed when she saw the person coming, and she said in a low voice, "Lu Lang, why are you here?" The man looked 26 years old, with handsome features and elegant demeanor. He looked at Xia Zhu with a gentle gaze. "Xia Zhu, since I was rescued by you last time and returned to the human world, I have been missing you all the time. To this day, I finally couldn't bear it and wanted to see you." When Xia Zhu heard his words, her face flushed immediately. Her voice was low with reproach and joy. "The magical beast forest is so dangerous to you humans. Why do you come back? Do you want to be injured in the forest like last time?" The man stepped forward abruptly, grabbed Xia Zhu's snow-white hand, and said in a loud voice, "Xia Zhu, as long as I can see you again, I would be willing to die, let alone just get hurt." Xia Zhu only felt that the man's hands were cold and felt dry, but she didn't care. She just thought that the man was too nervous and eager to see her. Xia Zhu lowered her head. Her heart was pounding, and her whole face was even redder, but thinking that the king was injured by humans, Xia Zhu's expression turned gloomy. She broke free from the man's hands. "Lu Lang, you should go now. You're a human, and I'm a beastkin. If we are together, no one will tolerate it. Moreover, our king has been hurt by humans. Even if I like you, king will not agree." When the man heard the phrase, "King has been hurt by humans," a dark light flashed in his eyes. He quickly grabbed her hands again and said emotion, "Xia Zhu, I really want to take you away, but I know you have to guard your sacred tree and cannot leave. But I will not give up. I will always wait for you until your king agrees to let us be together. Although I'm a human being, my heart for you can be proved by the sun and the moon." After speaking, the man let go of Xia Zhu's hand resolutely, turned around and strode away. Xia Zhu looked at the man's back, her eyes were slightly red. This man was accidentally rescued by her in the magical beast forest a few months ago. Although she knew that beastkin should keep a distance from humans, this man was so gentle, intelligent and different. He would tell Xia Zhu a lot of outside stories, comfort her gently, encourage her, and use spiritual power to sort out her meridians. Xia Zhu liked this man so much, so she secretly rescued him and cured him. Chapter 1381, Well done. The man left after he recovered from his illness. Xia Zhu thought that she would never see him again in this life, but unexpectedly, he would come back for her. Xia Zhu patted her flushed cheeks and walked toward the heavenly mulberry sacred tree. Soon, it was time for her to purify the heavenly mulberry sacred tree. After the heavenly mulberry sacred tree was purified, she wanted to secretly see the man again. Xia Zhu didn't see that after her figure disappeared, the man who had already left reappeared in the same place. A pair of eyes that were originally warm and soft now had a cold and mocking smile, as if laughing at Xia Zhu's stupidity. Suddenly, the man seemed to notice something and turned around abruptly. Behind him, a man wearing a golden mask appeared silently. It was the Golden Wolf in the Mojing Pavilion. Golden Wolf glanced at the man with an appreciative smile in his eyes. "President Lu, are you sure the heavenly mulberry sacred tree will be destroyed?" The man smiled slightly, and his face suddenly changed from 26 years old to 30 years. The man was Lu Shiyang. Lu Shiyang bowed slightly to Golden Wolf and said, "Sir, please don't worry, the Xia Zhu is stained with the liquid that is ground into powder from the nether beastkin bead. As long as the liquid gets a little bit on the heavenly mulberry sacred tree, the sacred tree will definitely be poisoned and unable to release the divine light of protection. Moreover, as long as there is no antidote, the heavenly mulberry sacred tree will slowly wither." The smile on Golden Wolf's face was even more satisfied. He patted Lu Shiyang's shoulder lightly and said in a deep voice, "You have done a good job in this matter. If we can catch all the beastkins in Toad Jade Palace this time, I will definitely report your credit to the Lord." A hint of excitement flashed in Lu Shiyang's eyes, but he forced himself to hold back. "Thank you, sir." Golden Wolf's eyes flickered. He glanced in the direction of the confinement space, before he said deeply, "However, the students and elders in the confinement space are all Bates. They are destined to die there. I remember President Lu's subordinates and daughter are still inside, right? Aren't you worried, President Lu?" Lu Shiyang's expression was extremely calm. His voice was still so gentle and soft. "If Zhishi is killed by the beastkins, it will be her fate. Compared with my daughter and subordinates, for me, being able to serve Sir and Lord is the most important thing." "Good. Good." Golden Wolf laughed loudly. He patted Lu Shiyang several times before leaving. Lu Shiyang's eyes also swept across the confinement space not far away. He whispered, "Zhishi, don't blame father. In order to eliminate Shiyu, in order to gain a foothold in the Siam continent, your sacrifice is necessary." The night fell little by little. In the magical beast forest, because of the dense towering trees, the night seemed to come faster and more menacingly than other places. In the confinement space, the roars of beasts sounded in everyone's ears. Soon, the sky darkened little by little. Through the gaps in the leaves, they could only see the setting sun being swallowed by the darkness little by little. Suddenly, countless black figures emerged from the gray mist and rushed toward the students of Miracle Healer Academy viciously. Heshi's eyes dimmed. She quickly saw the true faces of the shadows. "It's magical beasts. Everyone be careful." At the same time, the elders at the nascent soul stage also saw it clearly, and they were utterly shocked. "It's magical beasts. All of them are rank 5, rank 6, no, even rank 7. Chapter 1382, Something is Wrong. Dozens of magical beasts charged out of the gray mist. Most of the magical beasts here were rank 5 and rank 6, there were even rank 7 magical beasts. The types of these magical beasts were very strange. Their species was completely unrecognizable. Each of them looked exactly the same. What was even more terrifying was that the eyes of each magical beast were red, completely insane. Only killing instinct was left. Deputy Dean Jiang made a decisive decision and raised his voice. "The elders deal with rank 6 and rank 7 magical beasts, and the students of the 4 upper courtyards deal with rank 5 magical beasts. The elders must protect the students from being attacked by the magical beasts. Dean Li, you deal with the one on the left. Dean Huang, you deal with the rank 7 magical beast over there." Deputy Dean Zhang's voice was unsteady, but the orders he issued were orderly. The flustered students and elders calmed down. Even the elders of the Doctors' Association obediently obeyed his orders, because everyone knew that this was just the beginning. In this confinement space where there was no escape, they had no other way but to work together to kill these magical beasts. The night was getting closer and closer. The last touch of the setting sun faded in the sky, everything in the forest could no longer be seen clearly. Heshi's night vision ability had always been very good, and the rank 5 and 6 magical beasts couldn't pose a threat to her at all, so she handled them very easily. Others were different. Although these insane magical beasts couldn't pose a fatal threat to the students, the sky was getting darker and darker, many people's sight was blocked. In the process of resisting the magical beasts, they were more or less injured. Heshi frowned slightly as she smelled the smell of blood in the air as well as the depressing and irritable fishy smell in it. After entering this confinement space, she felt that something was wrong, as if there was an aura in the space that made her afraid. For example, poison. However, no matter how she used her sense of smell to distinguish, she couldn't identify what kind of poison it was. A ferocious rank 6 magical beast rushed over behind her. As the sharp claws were about to grab Heshi's shoulder, tearing her skin off. With a thought in Heshi's mind, purple vines soared into the sky, barely blocking the magical beast's attack. Roar! Magical beast let out an angry roar when its attack was blocked. The bloody mouth let out a stench. Heshi's eyes flickered. Li Shui's sword appeared in her hand and suddenly transfigured into dozens of swords, slashing toward the rank 6 magical beast. The next moment, the arrogant magical beast fell to the ground, completely out of breath. Heshi was about to take out the illumination crystal stone when he suddenly heard Qin Xiaofeng's cry of pain from behind. Immediately afterward, there were the anxious voices of Jin Ziyu and Qian Dazhuang. Xiaofeng, how are you? Xiaofeng, you bastard, you did it all to protect me. It was a magical beast at the peak of rank 6. The cold light of its sharp claws could even be seen in the dark. A terrifying beast roar came from its mouth. Its front paws were scratching the ground. The pair of blood-red eyes stared at Jin Ziyu and the others. It was about to rush over and devour the three of them in the next moment. The Li Shui sword in Heshi's hand was released in an instant, and the purple abyss vine also spread out all over the sky. Soon, the panicked students of Huang Medical Branch were shrouded in the defensive barrier of purple abyss vine. Heshi said in a deep voice, "Everyone comes to my purple enchantment. Don't run around. Try not to let the magical beast hurt you. Shiyu is here to save us." Chapter 1383, Take Advantage of the Chaos. Haha, I knew Shiyu wouldn't leave us to our own demise. With Shiyu on our side, we aren't afraid of anything. The protective barrier formed by the purple vines didn't look solid, but the magical beasts couldn't break through it immediately. The magical beast that only wanted to attack Jin Ziyu and the other two just now was split in half by Heshi's sword. Inside the purple enchantment, all the students of Huang Medical Branch looked at the young man in the darkness adoringly shining like a fairy. They felt that the panic and despair just now seemed to have dissipated. That's right, we won't die. As long as Shiyu is still around, we will not die. In the darkness, pairs of dark eyes fell on Shiyu's body. The eyes were full of enmity and cold killing intent. Lu Jishi made an eye gesture at an elder beside and said in a low voice, "Now that everyone is preoccupied and the sky is dark, no one can see you. Go and kill Shiyu." The elder was a high-rank martial artist at the early stage of the nascent soul. He was considered to be a relatively weak in the Doctors' Association, but it was more than enough to deal with the Foundation establishment stage. A malicious light flashed in his eyes. He bowed his head and said, "Yes, miss." Heshi enclosed most of the Huang Medical Branch's people in the purple abyss vine barrier, leaving only a few gold core stage uninjured people to deal with the magical beasts outside the barrier. Seeing that his students were no longer in danger, Zheng Shouyue was overjoyed and hurried to deal with rank 7 beastkin with other elders. The Li Shui sword in Heshi's hand whistled in the sky, turned into a rain of swords and flew towards a rank 6 magical beast not far away. Suddenly, she felt a chilling killing intent coming from her back, accompanied by a silent spirit pressure. It was a martial artist, and even a martial artist at the nascent soul stage. Someone wants to take advantage of the chaos to kill me. Heshi's thoughts turned. I no longer have the Li Shui sword in her hand. In a hurry, there is no way to get another weapon from the void. But, should I just sit and wait passively for my own death? Of course not. A hint of craziness flashed in her eyes. She felt that the spiritual power of this martial artist was mainly based on water's spiritual power. Of the 5 elements' spiritual power in her body, the most powerful and abundant ones were the water and fire spiritual power. And in Maha inheritance, she had also seen that if she had practiced to the intermediate and high levels of Maha inheritance, not only could she copy other people's moves, but she could even absorb other people's attacks and transform them into her own spiritual power. Of course, The premise was that her spiritual power was far stronger than the opponent's. Although Immortal Zijin said that her cultivation must be at least at the Gold Core stage later stage to practice Maha inheritance to the intermediate and high levels. However, at this time, she could only take her chance. All the thoughts happened only in 1 second. He made a decisive decision. A huge water attributes spiritual power circulated in her body. Purple and gold lights flashed in his eyes, making her look strange and brilliant. The next moment, the attack of the nascent soul stage elder was right in front of her. She turned around abruptly. Bang! Their palms met together. The nascent soul stage elder had a mocking smile on his face. This kid reacted quickly, but he is just a foundation establishment stage martial artist. If he wants to rival me with spiritual power, he is simply digging his own grave. However, such mocking was only for a moment. The expression on the elder's face suddenly turned into shock. What's going on? Why my majestic and powerful can't damage Shiyu as if it is voided? Except for stirring a small fluctuation, nothing else happens. Chapter 1384, with spiritual power is it because my attack is too light? Thinking of this, he started to channel his spiritual power crazily. The next blow made a roaring sound, and the chill aura was piercing. He used 80% of his cultivation. She felt the surging and majestic spiritual power from the opponent's hand, and she felt that her meridians and dantian were about to explode. The tearing pain was transmitted from every inch of bone, skin, and veins in her body, making her body tremble uncontrollably. When the elder of the Doctors' Association increased the attack to 90%, she seemed to hear the sound of his own dantian shattering. Mother, mother. Channel the wood's spiritual power, hurry channel the wood's spiritual power. Little Egg's anxious cry came into her ears. And Xiao Qi, who had been quiet, stared at the sky intently. A faint green light suddenly radiated from his body again. There was a twinkle in Heshi's eyes, and the wood's spiritual power was quietly running in her dantian. The next moment, the dantian that was about to shatter and the damaged meridians were healed in the blink of an eye. They were even strengthened a bit. And 80% of the attack power of those nascent soul stage martial artists was absorbed by her, running silently in her body. In the darkness, Tong Bing, who had been grabbing a student's corpse to hide and hiding in a corner, suddenly raised his eyes. The pair of clear and pitiful eyes was now shining with a strange and scorching light. Would spiritual power. So powerful, so pure would spiritual power. Whose would spiritual root is this? If I can get it again, he whispered as if it was the groan of an evil spirit, telling the ugly and greedy desire in his heart. At this time, the shock on the face of the Doctors' Association elder who was fighting Heshi had turned into horror. His spiritual power in his dantian was almost empty. Such a powerful attack could crush even 10 foundation establishment stage martial artists like Heshi into pieces, but she still seemed to be fine. In the darkness, he raised his head and met a pair of cold and beautiful phoenix eyes. The scorching light danced in his eyes as if mocking, but also as if devouring it carelessly. The elder trembled all over, and he suddenly said in terror, You are not at the foundation establishment stage. What are you? However, before he finished speaking, he suddenly felt his weak body being wrapped by vines and got thrown into the group of magical beasts. Countless magical beast claws and sharp teeth climbed onto his neck, his limbs, his chest and abdomen, tearing the defenseless him to pieces in an instant. Ah! A shrill scream came from the herd of beasts, startling everyone, but it was only for a moment. Facing such a beast tied in the dark, it was normal for someone to be injured or die. After 2 hours of chaotic battle, the magical beasts in the confinement space were finally cleaned up. At this time, everyone took out the illumination stones from the storage bag to count the casualties this time. When the light filled the forest, Lu Jishi was shocked and distorted when he saw Heshi standing there intact. How is this possible? I clearly asked Elder Chiu to kill this bitch, why is he still alive? Besides, where is Elder Chiu? Lu Zixi searched around, and she finally found Elder Qiu's mutilated body and half of his head under the bodies of the magical beasts. So, Elder Qiu was killed by the magical beasts before he could kill Xiyu. He is at the nascent soul stage. How is this possible? Chapter 1385, Corpse Puppet. Just when Lu Zixi was furious and unwilling, He looked at her with a cold light in her eyes. But soon, she suppressed the murderous intent in her eyes and lowered her head to look at the bodies of those magical beasts. Xiyu, what's wrong? Is there something wrong with these magical beasts? Jin Ziyu asked. He turned a magical beast over and pointed at its empty dantian. Here's the problem. There is no monster essence pill. Jin Ziyu's eyes widened in surprise. There is no monster essence pill and no heart, so how do these magical beasts attack people? He also frowned. She smelled a terrible smell from these magical beasts. Wei Chengyuan and the deans from several branches also came over. Wei Chengyuan said, I also find it very strange. When these magical beasts first appeared, I found that their attack power is much worse than the real rank 6 and rank 7 magical beasts, and they can only attack with their bodies. They can't cast any spell at all. It turns out that they didn't have monster essence pills on them, but how could they live without monster essence pills? Several deans all showed doubts on their faces. No one had seen such a situation before. In Heshi's void, the little golden dragon's horrified voice suddenly came, it's corpse puppets. Boss, these magical beasts have all been refined into corpse puppets. Corpse puppet? Heshi talked to little golden dragon through divine sense. What is a corpse? Little golden dragon said, I don't know very well. I just heard about it from the former master. This corpse puppet is made by adding a certain amount of divine sense into the corpse. It let them possess simple instinctive consciousness. In ancient times, many people used the corpse puppets as their own army. However, because doing this kind of thing with a corpse is disrespectful to the dead and to control the corpse puppet, one has to split his own divine sense. There is no way to make up for the divine sense that is split away. For many people, the loss outweighs the gain, so gradually there are no corpse puppets anymore. Heshi breathed a sigh of relief. In that case, this corpse puppet is not a sinister thing, at least it is much better than He Sha refining a living person into a puppet. It should be. Little golden dragon grabbed the ground with his paws. His expression was a little irritable, but boss, I always feel that I seem to have forgotten something very important. This corpse puppet seems to be not that simple. Before little golden dragon could finish speaking, Heshi suddenly heard a cry of pain and exclamation from not far away. Fuck, Zhu Jicheng, what are you doing? Let go of Wu Haoyang. Heshi turned around suddenly. She saw a boy in the pioneer branch, who was bitten by a magical beast on his shoulder, crazily pounced on his partner beside him and bit his neck hard. His eyes had turned blood red at this moment. His wide-open mouth was making groans, accompanied by a strong stench. Immediately afterward, the corpses that were brought together by everyone and prepared to be taken back to the college for burial stood up one by one. Some of them were missing arms and legs, some had bloody heads, but none of them felt the pain at all. They just stared at the people around them with blood-red eyes. Ah! Bastard, I'm your brother, why did you bite me? Ah Bin, are you crazy? Let me go. The entire confinement space was in chaos. People were biting, dodging, and screaming. Heshi was dumbfounded by the scene. Chapter 1386, The Walking Dead. The little golden dragon in the void suddenly yelled, Damn, I remembered now, boss. A mysterious neurotoxin is naturally produced in the teeth of these corpse puppets. As long as the master of the corpse puppet activates it, this virus will instantly paralyze the body and senses of people, turning people or beasts into completely irrational monsters who only know killing and devouring flesh and blood. The virus in the teeth of these corpse puppets must have been activated. All those who have been bitten by a corpse puppet will immediately turn into irrational killing monsters, just like those magical beasts. Moreover, this virus is contagious. Heshi was astounded. She looked at the students of Huang Medical Branch not far away. Several students there were scratched by the magical beast. Some were bitten by the magical beasts, and the wounds were still very large. But at this time, the 2 students who were bitten were shivering all over. Their eyes turned red and gray at times. Their entire faces were distorted in pain. Their friends asked anxiously, "What's wrong? What happened?" But those 2 students suddenly opened their mouths wide, let out a beast-like roar and pounced toward their friends. At the critical moment, the purple vines flew out of Heshi's hand and tied up the 2 students. On the other side, Lu Zhishi's face was pale. She was tremblingly looking at the corpse whose head had been chopped off, but it was still waving its limbs. Zhu Zhicheng was a student of the Pioneer Branch and an officer of the Academy's Student Council. It could be said that he was one of Lu Zhishi's supporters. After fighting the magical beast, he found that his arm was bitten by the magical beast. At that time, he didn't care about it, he just treated it with spiritual power, thinking that it would be fine soon. However, as time went by, he felt that his wound was itchy and festered, and his heart seemed to be bitten by thousands of ants. Zhu Zhicheng felt something was wrong. He felt that his body was getting colder and colder as if he was about to lose control. So, he had to turn to Lu Zhishi for help. But, who was Lu Zhishi? She was the president of the Academy Student Council, the goddess of the Pioneer Branch. There were many admirers of Lu Zhishi in the Pioneer Branch. Upon hearing Zhu Zhicheng's words, one of the admirers thought he was trying to attract Lu Zhishi's attention, so he immediately sneered and said, "It's just a scratch, what's there to be nervous about? Let me check your wound." However, before he could finish his sentence, Zhu Zhicheng's eyes had completely turned blood red, and he rushed over and bit his neck. Wu Haoyang was caught off guard. His throat was bitten off in an instant, and he died strangely like this. The person next to him hurriedly shouted with a pale face, "Zhu Zhicheng, what are you doing? Let go of Wu Haoyang, you want to bite him to death." Unexpectedly, Zhu Zhicheng actually let go of Wu Haoyang and pounced toward Lu Zhishi. Lu Zhishi never thought that such a thing would happen to her, so she was pushed to the ground before she couldn't even use her spiritual power. Zhu Zhicheng's blood-stained nails grabbed Lu Zhishi's face fiercely, scratching 3 deep scars, then he lowered his head and bit her neck. "Ah!" Lu Zhishi screamed. At the very moment, someone cut off Zhu Zhicheng's head with a sword, then Lu Zhishi was saved. When Lu Zhishi was dragged out from under Zhu Zhicheng's body, her whole body was trembling, and her eyes were full of horror. Chapter 1387, Kill Them All, and the pain and itching of the 3 wounds on her face also made her uncontrollably afraid and worried. After trembling for a long time, Lu Zhishi released her spiritual power to his face. Fortunately, with the channeling of spiritual power, those 3 wounds healed and disappeared at a speed visible to the naked eye. Only then did Lu Zhishi heave a sigh of relief. However, she seemed to feel a tingling sensation from the scars on her face as if a bug was crawling inside. But that was only for a moment, and she quickly ignored this feeling. At this time, the entire confinement space was completely chaotic. People were constantly being bitten, and people were constantly screaming. The small space seemed to be hell for everyone. Suddenly, a clear and calm voice sounded in everyone's ears. "Everyone, listen to me, these magical beasts are corpse puppets. Anyone bitten by a corpse puppet will lose their mind and only want to kill and devour flesh. Now, quickly tie up those who got bitten by the magical beasts immediately. Otherwise, you will also become such monsters if you are bitten." Heshi's voice was exceptionally loud and clear, reaching everyone's ears. The next moment, greater panic spread in the confinement space. Especially those who had been bitten and those with wounds on their bodies, they all showed terrified expressions. "We will become such monsters. No. I absolutely don't want to." Those who were not bitten reacted extremely quickly when they heard Heshi's words. They didn't want to end up like that. Lu Zhishi and the elders of the Doctors' Association even cut off the heads of those who had gone mad. And those who were injured but hadn't yet gone crazy were tied up. Deputy Dean Zhang's face was extremely ugly. In the blink of an eye, more than a dozen students from their Miracle Healer Academy were beheaded. However, he also couldn't blame Lu Zhishi and the Doctors Association's people. After all, if these crazy people were kept, the entire academy would be dead in the end. A rank 9 elder in the Doctors Association finally remembered what a corpse puppet was at this time, and he said solemnly, "People who are bitten by a corpse puppet will turn into a monster like that. No one can escape. These people are now fine because the virus hasn't invaded their brains." Lu Zhishi said nervously, "What about the person who was scratched?" The rank 9 elder said, "The person who was scratched is fine. And it is very simple to tell whether the wound is infected with virus. You only need to use water attributes spiritual power to heal the wound. If the wound can heal, it means that you are not infected with corpse puppet virus." Lu Zhishi finally heaved a sigh of relief, touched her flawless face, and smiled a little. And those who were injured asked doctors to treat their wounds one after another, and all the recovered ones showed joyful expressions. As for those whose wounds could not be healed, but gradually festered, their faces were ashen. Elder Qi looked at these people with fear and coldness in his eyes. He said firmly, "Kill these people, kill them all." As soon as these words came out, the students and elders of Miracle Healer Academy were astounded. Many students couldn't bear to say, "They all seem to be normal now, what if they won't lose their minds? Should we wait a little longer? Wait a little longer." Elder Qi sneered, "Do you know what kind of insidious tricks are behind the beastkins? If you keep this group of burdens, who will bear the responsibility when they get mad and hurt someone?" Chapter 1388, Will be fine. Everyone was silent for a while. Although they knew that what Elder Qi said was right, these were their friends and classmates, how could they bear to watch them die? The faces of the restrained students were pale. Some were crying in despair, some were struggling desperately, some were cursing Lu Zhishi and others for their cruelty. A thin young man suddenly crawled out from the crowd, knelt down in front of Lu Zhishi, and said loudly in a sobbing tone, "President Lu, I know that the Doctors Association are all very powerful doctors, please help my sister. My sister is just scratched a little on the hand, but she is still conscious. Please don't kill her." This young man was named Yu Gang. He tied up his younger sister Yu Jing the moment he found her being bitten. Unexpectedly, he actually killed his sister by doing this. A flash of cold hatred flashed in Lu Zhishi's eyes. She was scratched by that disgusting monster just now, and the fear in her heart was like a tide that overwhelmed her. This made her hate this group of people who were about to become corpse puppets to the extreme. However, she still had a gentle expression on her face as if she was helpless and sad. "We are only doing it for everyone's benefit. I have never heard that people who have been infected by the corpse puppet can survive. These people, including your sister, can't be saved. They're going to turn into irrational monsters in no time. If we don't kill them right away, more people will die. Yu Gang, do you want to kill the rest of us for your sister alone?" As if to confirm Lu Zhishi's words, one of those who was tied up suddenly roared with bloodshot eyes. He rushed toward the nearest Doctors Association's elder. The Doctors Association's elder showed no mercy at all. He chopped off the head with a blade. Lu Zhishi looked at Yu Gang and said reproachfully, "Yu Gang, did you see that? Your sister will soon become such a monster. If you still think about everyone, kill her immediately." Yu Gang fell to the ground all of a sudden. When he heard his sister crying in despair from behind, his body trembled uncontrollably. Because of this change, the students and elders who were still a little bit unbearable became firmer. Although they also felt it was cruel, compared to their own safety, it was better to let the others die. Different from other branches, Huang Medical Branch was the first to discover and control the corpse puppet virus. They didn't get together with people from other branches, but dozens of people got together by themselves. Those few people who had lost their minds had been tightly bound by Purple Abyss Vine. The people who had been bitten and hadn't yet attacked were also tied up. Each of them had a look of despair. Chen Xiaofeng was also lying on the ground at this time. There was a bloody wound on his upper arm. No matter how Zheng Shouyue used spiritual power to treat it, it could not heal. The light in Qin Xiaofeng's eyes dimmed a little bit. Pain and unwillingness intertwined, but it finally turned into peace. Dean Zheng, no need to try. It seems that I'm really infected with the corpse puppet virus. He looked at Jin Ziyu and Qian Dazhuang at the side and said hoarsely, Boss, Dazhuang, promise me that if I turn into that kind of monster later, you must kill me. No. I won't. Qian Dazhuang roared. A big man like him was red in his eyes. His eyes were filled with guilt and pain. Feng, you will be fine. You will definitely be fine. Chapter 1389, Plead, if it wasn't for saving me, you wouldn't. Qin Xiaofeng closed his eyes and said in a low voice, it's not your fault. I was just careless. Since you three are fine, I'm relieved. Shiyu, Qin Xiaofeng turned his gaze to Heshi in the distance with pleading eyes, Shiyu, after I die, please take care of Boss and the others. Please take them out of the magical beast forest safely. As he spoke, Qin Xiaofeng's face turned black, and the light in his eyes also changed from pitch black to blood red. Even with Jin Ziyu's calmness, his eyes were wet at this time. He said in a trembling voice, Xiaofeng, what nonsense are you talking about? You won't die. However, although he said he would not die, Jin Ziyu was still filled with despair when he heard the wailing and crying from other branches not far away. The speed of the corpse puppet virus infection was very fast. Even if there was really a way to save them, it was too late. A gloomy cloud of despair enveloped everyone. Apart from Qin Xiaofeng, Fang Yun and others who were bitten by the Huang medical branch this time, many students couldn't help crying. At this moment, Shiyu, who had been squatting silently by the side, suddenly walked over. At this time, there was already a whole row of silver needles in her hand. Unlike the usual silver needles, these needles glow with a purple light, which seemed to have been coated with some kind of toxin. Shiyu first walked to Qin Xiaofeng, who was about to turn, and inserted the silver needle into his dantian. Qin Xiaofeng, who had already started to growl, slowly calmed down. His bloodshot eyes returned to normal. Shiyu. Qian Dazhuang looked at her in surprise. 2 lines of tears and snot were still hanging on his face, looking embarrassed and funny. However, he didn't seem to feel it at all. There was only hope and trust in his eyes. Shiyu, you can cure Xiaofeng, right? Everyone looked at Shiyu full of hope. Their eyes were full of admiration and unconditional trust. Right, don't despair, don't be afraid. We still have Siye. There is nothing Shiyu can't do in this world. Who cares about a mere corpse puppet virus? Shiyu glanced at them and said calmly, whether they can be saved or not depends on the situation. I still need time to study it, but I can suppress the onset of the virus first. As she spoke, the silver needles pierced one by one. Soon, those people felt their bodies, which were originally cold and out of control, gradually warmed up. At this moment, suddenly a young boy staggered towards him with the bound girl. As soon as the boy came in front of Zheng Shouyue, he knelt down with a plop. Dean Zheng, please help us. I volunteer to join Huang Medical Branch. The boy was Yu Gang. He saw those bitten students being killed one by one, and his heart was filled with anger and fear. He didn't want his sister to die, but there was nothing he could do. Just at this time, someone said that none of the Huang Medical Branch personnel died, and Shiyu was still saving people. With a glimmer of hope, Yu Gang dragged his sister and rushed over. Dean Zheng glanced at his sister, only to see that his eyes were reddened, and distorted lines appeared on his face, but he still managed to retain a little sanity. He wanted to refuse, but seeing the young man's thin body and pleading eyes, he couldn't harden his heart no matter what. Chapter 1390, Retribution. Suddenly a young boy's cold voice came from behind, bring her over here. The virus will trigger very soon. Yu Gang suddenly raised his head when he heard the words. Seeing Shiyu's calm eyes, he suddenly felt that his flustered and burning heart seemed to have settled down. He quickly dragged Yu Jing over. Watching Shiyu insert silver needles into her younger sister's body, although the younger sister couldn't recover, her heavy breathing calmed down. Yu Gang knelt down again towards Shiyu and the people of Huang Medical Branch and said with tears in his eyes, "Thank you, thank you." As he spoke, the tears he had been holding back finally fell down. He had always looked down on Huang Medical Branch before. He never thought that when he was helpless, the only person who was willing to help him was the man of Huang Medical Branch. Yu Gang's actions seemed to ignite a fuse. Those infected, who were persecuted by the elders of the Doctors' Association, fled toward Heshi's side. Because the Miracle Healer Academy's elders and deans didn't stop them, these bitten people escaped to Huang Medical Branch smoothly. At the same time, Wei Chengyuan, Han Xianer and others who disagreed with the Doctors' Association's decision also followed. After Lu Zhishi and the others finally killed a corpse puppet virus-infected person and his relatives, they realized that all the infected people who were tied up had escaped to the side of the Huang Medical Branch. They were furious. Elder Qi and the others came to the Huang Medical Branch and said viciously, "If you are smart, immediately hand over everyone who has been poisoned by the corpse puppet virus or don't blame us for being rude." Qian Dazhuang was immersed in the joy that Shi Yuaning might cure Qin Xiaofeng, so he was furious when he heard this. "Can you decide who we can or can't save? If you are afraid, you can stay away from us. Want us to kill our companions? Absolutely impossible." Zheng Shouyue also said coldly, "The confinement space is so big. We don't interfere with each other. Even if these people really turn crazy, we are the ones who suffer. If you are afraid, you can stay away from us." Those who escaped from other branches were trembling with fright when they saw Elder Qi coming, but now they heard what Zheng Shouyue said, they were all overjoyed. Many people couldn't help looking at Shi Yu and those Huang Medical Branch students who supported each other without complaining or hating each other, and each of them felt envy. They used to think that the people of the Huang Medical Branch were rubbish, but now it seemed that the people living in the Huang Medical Branch were much happier than them. If they could go back alive this time, they would rather all join Huang Medical Branch. Lu Zhishi also stepped forward at this time, looking at everyone in Huang Medical Branch with a serious expression and especially Shi Yu who was still concentrating on treating Fang Yuan. She said a hint of sarcasm, "I've never heard that corpse puppet poison is curable. You take in these infected people like this, it is likely to threaten the safety of everyone. Shi Yu, why are you always so selfish? Just to buy people's hearts and show your benevolence and morality, you put most people's lives at risk. Aren't you afraid of retribution for your reputation?" Retribution? Heshi, who had kept her head down, suddenly sneered and slowly raised her head. "You, Lu Zhishi, are not afraid, so why should I?" "You." Before Lu Zhishi finished speaking, Heshi interrupted, "Also, who said I can't cure the virus of the corpse puppet?" Chapter 1391, Pain. As soon as the words were finished, Fang Yuan, who had just taken the medicine powder given by Heshi, suddenly trembled violently. Then he straightened up abruptly and spat out a mouthful of black blood on the ground with a gulp. As soon as the black blood touched the ground, it eroded the ground and grass. Fang Yuan stood up slowly. Although his face was still a little pale, the blood red in his eyes and the blackness on his face disappeared. Even the festering wounds were slowly healing. Everyone's eyes widened in shock. Some even raised their hands and rubbed their eyes, unable to believe what they saw. Fang Yuan touched the scar on his thigh that had begun to heal, and he even trembled all over his body. He looked up at Heshi and said in a trembling voice, "Senior Shiyu, am I cured? I don't have to die and I won't become that kind of monster." Heshi said lightly, "It seems so for the time being, but you still have the virus of the corpse puppet in your body. I just suppressed the virus that was about to spread and let it go dormant again. I still need time to research how to dispel it." "That's enough." Fang Yuan cried, "I survived, I actually survived, woo woo." The desperation and fear all burst out at this moment, turning into the joy of surviving the catastrophe. Fang Yuan's friends hugged him and comforted him non-stop. Their eyes were red. Qian Dazhuang excitedly rushed in front of Heshi and said, "Shiyu, medicine. Medicine. Quick, let me save Xiaofeng. He smiled. Qian Dazhuang even stuttered excitedly. She was not stingy either. She walked up to Qin Xiaofeng, sprinkled 2 kinds of medicine on the wound, and poured the other into his mouth. Soon, Qin Xiaofeng developed the same symptoms as Fang Yun, then all the symptoms of turning mad disappeared without a trace. There was laughter in Huang Medical Branch, and those who defected to Huang Medical Branch were even more ecstatic. They originally just wanted to find a pure land where they could rest in peace before despair, but they didn't expect to find the hope of life. He was about to treat others when her body suddenly shook slightly. Her complexion changed. There was a burning pain in her chest. Brother Shiyu, what's wrong with you? Zhang Yi was the first to notice that something was wrong with He. He hurriedly supported He. Seeing her instantly pale face and the beads of sweat on her forehead, he couldn't help but feel anxious. He didn't know what was wrong with her. She just felt as if a huge palm was churning her dantian. She was in so much pain that she couldn't stand. She almost groaned in pain. The students of Huang Medical Branch also noticed He's abnormality, and their faces changed drastically. They gathered around one after another. He endured the great pain and handed the medicine bottle in her hand to Zheng Shouyue. Dean, the black porcelain bottle is taken internally and the white porcelain bottle is applied externally. You go and treat them first. Otherwise, if the corpse puppet virus is triggered, they will turn into a corpse. Even I can't do anything. Zheng Shouyue took the medicine bottle, but he felt full of anxiety. He probed the spiritual power into He's body, only felt the huge spiritual power in her body running around, but he couldn't detect anything at all. Upon He's persistent gaze, Zheng Shouyue could only take the medicine and heal those students who got bitten. His eye sockets were slightly red. This student looks ruthless on the surface, but in fact, she is so soft on the inside. Chapter 1392, Condensing Gold Core. Especially as a doctor, she couldn't even turn a blind eye to a patient. Those students who were poisoned by the corpse puppet were all stunned. Their eyes were sore and red. They vowed one by one in their hearts that no matter what, they would repay Shiyu's life-saving grace in the future. After handing over the antidote, He finally couldn't take it anymore. She fell to the ground. At this time, the majestic and hot spiritual power in her body almost crushed her internal organs. Both ears were buzzing. She could no longer hear any sound, nor could she see the scene in front of her. Her consciousness was even more blurred as if she would faint at any time. She knew something was wrong, but there was nothing she could do. Suddenly, the fluctuation of purple abyss vine came from divine sense, then the anxious voice of little golden dragon came into her ears. Boss, you are about to break through. Your gold core is condensing, and it is the perfect gold core. You must immediately retreat to condense the gold core. Damn dash. Despite He's calmness, she couldn't help but want to swear at this time. I thought I was tricked by something, but I didn't expect it to be a breakthrough. My gold core is actually condensing. Condensing gold core is of course a good thing. I have waited too long to break through to the gold core stage. But, why at this time? This kind of place? When I'm surrounded by powerful enemies with malicious intentions. Boss, it must be because you absorbed the attack of the nascent soul stage old man, so you break through the last bottleneck. But, the situation is really bad now. Boss, you are a perfect stage breakthrough, which will inevitably trigger a natural phenomenon. Your spiritual root are even 5 elements, which contain almost everything in nature. It will definitely arouse the resonance of this magical beast forest. It's over, really over. Your wood spiritual root may not be able to hide. What should we do now? I also know it's bad. You think I want this? She gritted her teeth and complained viciously. However, no matter how crazy He was, she must calm down. She must retreat and condense the gold core. She had to succeed, otherwise it would be an irreversible ending. Jin Ziyu, Wei Chengyuan, a weak voice came out of He's mouth. There is something that I need. you guys too, help me." Jin Ziyu and Wei Chengyuan, who had been watching her anxiously, quickly surrounded her. "Shiyu, tell me anything, as long as we can do it. My body is in some condition, and I may have to break through." Heshi said in a low and hoarse voice, "I need to retreat. During this period, don't let anyone disturb me." Wei Chengyuan and Jin Ziyu were startled suddenly, then they woke up suddenly. Breakthrough? Shiyu is going to advance from the foundation establishment stage to the meridian stage? If so, that would be great. Shiyu is so amazing at the foundation establishment stage. If he advances to the meridian stage, he must be able to help us out of this confinement space. Wei Chengyuan immediately patted his chest and said, "Shiyu, don't worry. I will definitely guard you." Jin Ziyu's words are very concise, but his voice is full of determination. "Want to touch you? Unless I die." Heshi's blurred eyes swept over Lu Jishi and the elders of the Doctors' Association not far away. Her vision was blurred at this time and she could no longer see their expressions clearly. But she could predict that Lu Jishi would never allow her to break through smoothly. But now, everything was too late. With Jin Ziyu's support, Heshi sat down beside a rock, then she entered the void. In the eyes of outsiders, Heshi was leaning cross-legged against the rock to the left as if she had fallen asleep. Chapter 1393, Do It. But in fact, Heshi was already sitting next to the ninth secluded spirit spring and starting to channel the spiritual power in her own dantian. Several little guys watched outside vigilantly, just waiting to jump out if someone wanted to harm Heshi. Purple abyss vine had long been floating around Heshi's body outside the void, forming a protective barrier. Therefore, no one in the void and the spiritual pets noticed that the ninth secluded spirit spring, which was originally clear, now emitted a faint green light that floated toward Heshi. The dazed Shaoqi seemed to have sensed something. He turned around suddenly and muttered, "Sister, protect, sister." He quickly put both hands on the ground and galloped towards Heshi like a beast, then he squatted obediently beside her like a loyal dog protecting her. From his dantian, faint green gas also flowed and entangled toward Heshi. Xia Zhu was going crazy. She didn't know what happened. After she routinely purified the heavenly mulberry sacred tree today, the light of the sacred tree didn't brighten, but it gradually dimmed. Moreover, dark green lines slowly appeared on the tree like blood-sucking vines that tightly entangled the heavenly mulberry sacred tree and sucked up its vitality bit by bit. The divine light that originally covered a large area became dimmer and smaller, and the light circle became smaller and smaller. In the end, not even Toad Jade Palace could stay within the circle of protection. What happened? Why did the sacred tree become like this? A rank 9 beastkin asked Xia Zhu fiercely. Xia Zhu's eyes were red. She shook her head desperately. "I don't know. I really don't know. I just purified the sacred tree as usual." The beastkins guarding the sacred tree showed panicked expressions. Several old beastkins even knelt down toward the sacred tree and muttered, "God of beastkin and God of forest, please forgive our sins. Please bless us again." At this moment, a sneer suddenly came from behind the crowd. "I'm afraid that your gods are in trouble now. They have no time to bless you at all." The beastkins turned around, only to find several human martial artists walking slowly toward the sacred tree. Each of these martial artists was above the nascent soul stage. That was equivalent to rank 8 and rank 9 beastkin. "Who are you? How did you get in here?" The leader of the martial artists was an arrogant young man who looked about 30 years old, named Li Wei, but his real youth was over 200 years old. His strength had even reached the terrifying soul-splitting stage intermediate stage. In Miluo continent, this was an almost invincible existence. And everyone who followed him was at least at the level of nascent soul stage later stage. Li Wei sneered when he heard the words, "Just a mere magical beast forest. Do you really think it can trap those of us from the upper realm? Hee, if we weren't afraid of the heavenly mulberry sacred tree and that Demi-Divine beast, we would have entered the magical beast forest a long time ago and take all of you beastkins back to do experiments." The beastkin who asked was a rank 9 tree beastkin. The beastkins transformed from plants were usually gentle and kind-hearted, but he was trembling with anger now. There was a mixture of anger and killing intent in his eyes. It is you guys who harmed the heavenly mulberry sacred tree? Li Wei had a smug look on his face. He didn't deny it at all. You animals still have some brains. No. How is this possible? No one can even get close to the heavenly mulberry sacred tree. How could you possibly do that? Chapter 1394, Catch all of you. Li Wei laughed out loud. His voice was indescribably cheerful and full of sarcasm. He glanced at a person behind him and said, President Liu, let these animals understand before they die. As soon as Li Wei finished speaking, a slender man slowly walked out of the crowd. The man looked to be in his 30s. He had a short beard on his lips. He had a gentle and elegant demeanor, which made it easy for people to have a good impression. Xia Zhu stared at this man with eyes full of surprise and uneasiness. The next moment, a cloud of white mist rose from the man's body. Immediately afterward, his face distorted and changed. He quickly turned into a gentle and handsome young man in his early 20s. Ah! Xia Zhu screamed. She knelt on the ground. Her eyes fixed on the man with shock and disbelief. Impossible. Impossible. This is impossible. Absolutely impossible. A gentle smile appeared on Lu Xiyang's face. He glanced at Xia Zhu with a gentle gaze as if he had confided affectionately a few days ago, Xia Zhu, it is really thanks to you that we can poison the heavenly mulberry sacred tree. We can also catch all of you in one go. No. No. Xia Zhu screamed in despair, Lu Lang, you lied to me, didn't you? You said that I was your savior and you said that you were sincere with me. How could you lie to me? Lu Xiyang smiled lowly. His eyes were still gentle, but his words were as cruel as poisonous arrows, savior. Hee. Xia Zhu, why are you so naive until now? My injuries and I got saved by you were under my deliberate arrangement. The purpose is to get close to and find the weakness of heavenly mulberry sacred tree through you. Fortunately, my hard work paid off. I finally found it. As Lu Xiyang said, he took out a black bead exuding an ominous aura. I found these two nether beastkin beads with great difficulty. One was ground into powder and stained on your body. As soon as you get close to the heavenly mulberry sacred tree, the powder of the nether beastkin bead will automatically attach to it, slowly eating away its vitality. And this one in my hand. It's just used to devour the heavenly mulberry sacred tree. As Lu Xiyang said, he glanced at the heavenly mulberry sacred tree not far away. His eyes were full of greedy and scorching light. If such a precious sacred tree is only used by you beastkins, it would be too wasteful. Xia Zhu listened to Lu Xiyang's words in a daze. The scenes of being with Lu Lang, day and night still flashed in her mind, but all these turned out to be fake. It was just to deceive her and exterminate her fellow race. I will kill you. Crazy and powerful spiritual power suddenly erupted from Xia Zhu's body. She screamed and rushed toward Lu Xiyang. There was a cruel sneer at the corner of Lu Xiyang's mouth. When Xia Zhu rushed in front of him, he suddenly reached out and grabbed Xia Zhu's lower abdomen. The next moment, a powerful suction force radiated from his palm along with the majestic beastkin power. Xia Zhu widened her eyes in horror. Her body began to convulse. Why does a human have beastkin power? Why is my beastkin power leaving me little by little? It is all swallowed up by Lu Xiyang. Bang! Lu Xiyang waved his hand. Xia Zhu, who was almost sucked into a mummified corpse, was mercilessly thrown on the ground. Chapter 1395, Bait. The originally pretty girl looked like a dry leaf at this time, then after a burst of convulsions, she finally slowly turned into her original form, a dying spirit purifying rabbit with shedding hair. Li Wei smacked his tongue twice. He looked at Lu Xiyang with jealousy. President Lu is really amazing. You could deceive a rank 8 beastkin to let you devour its life back then. Now you deceived another small beastkin to ruin its own sacred tree. TSK, no wonder Sir Golden Wolf values you so much. There was no trace of arrogance on Lu Shiyang's face. He bowed his head and stepped back respectfully. The beastkins beside the heavenly mulberry sacred tree stared blankly at this scene. Until they saw Xia Zhu being killed, their eyes turned blood red and stared at the humans hatefully. Countless tentacles suddenly emerged from the rank 9 tree beastkin and shouted furiously, "Humans, how dare you hurt our people like this? I will kill you all." The beastkins roared in unison and rushed toward Li Wei and the others. However, the battle ended in just a quarter of an hour. The beastkins were all seriously injured and knocked to the ground. They were all tightly bound with golden silk. The rank 9 tree beastkin even had burn marks all over his body, and blood overflowed from his mouth. It was obvious that he had suffered a lot of damage. Li Wei looked at their dire state and laughed. How? Is my thunderbolt divine fire powerful? Does it feel good to be burned by the fire? You animals really think you can fight against us humans? The body of the rank 9 tree beastkin kept trembling. His lower limbs had turned into tree roots, but they were burned. It was horrible. Hearing Li Wei's laughter, he raised his head and stared at them fiercely. He said loudly, "You will suffer retribution. You humans will all suffer retribution. Our king will not let you go. All of you will all die under the hands of the king." "Your king?" Li Wei laughed again. His voice was full of sarcasm. "Do you think your king can live long enough to avenge you? Ha, don't joke. He has already become our captive. In the future, he will also become our greatest experiment. I believe that with the rank 11 Demi-Divine beast, Lord's experiment will be a success." "Impossible." All the beastkins who heard it screamed, "You humans, how could you hurt king?" Their king was an overpowered existence. He was at the top of rank 11, almost close to rank 12. No one in the Miluo continent was a match for the king. As long as their king and heavenly mulberry sacred tree were there, the magical beast forest was a paradise for all beastkins. They would never believe that the sacred tree would be destroyed and the king would die. However, Li Wei's following words interrupted all their fantasies. "Hehe, in order to destroy your Jing, we have spent a lot of effort. A whole half of Miracle Healer Academy's elites are all used as bait just to keep your Jing from noticing our move against the heavenly mulberry sacred tree. By the way, he is also affected by Sanskrit voodoo elusive silk. Ha ha ha. Although those garbage students of Miracle Healer Academy are going to die now, 80% of your king's spiritual power is sealed by Sanskrit voodoo elusive silk. Even if he is a demi-divine beast, with 80% of his spiritual power being sealed, when facing our Sir Golden Wolf, he can only be caught. Tell me, is there any possibility of your king escaping?" Chapter 1396, Extinction. The rank 9 tree beastkin desperately shook his head, but he seemed to hear beastkin's angry shouts, screams, and wailings from the Toad Jade Palace in the distance. The tree beastkin glanced at the heavenly mulberry sacred tree. At this time, Lu Shiyang had already placed the nether beastkin bead in the center of the tree. As the nether beastkin bead emitted a terrifying aura of death, the vitality of the heavenly mulberry sacred tree became weaker and weaker. The branches and leaves that were originally shining with silver light were all withered as if the sacred tree would collapse and die any time. "King, and our sacred tree, our home." The tree beastkin closed his eyes in despair. Blood and tears fell from the corners of his eyes. "God of beastkin, have you really abandoned your people? Is this really the day of our extinction?" Toad Jade Palace. Feng Wan desperately attacked the humans besieging him while letting out crazed and desperate roars. The intact hand had lost its weapon. The originally sharp nails had long been turned up, revealing bloody wounds. However, he didn't have the slightest intention of surrendering. There was only one thought in his mind. Kill. Kill these despicable humans. Kill these invaders. The human martial artists who besieged Feng Wuan laughed mockingly. This monster's toughness is really good. After being besieged for so long, it is still so energetic. Hee, if he isn't tough, can he escape from the Mojing Pavilion? Okay, stop messing around. Catch him quickly. Sir Golden Wolf is still waiting to capture the king of Beastkin here. Human martial artists no longer played around. Feng Wuan, who had already been severely injured, had no strength to resist. He was quickly tied into a ball and thrown aside. Even, because of his crazy resistance, his other hand and left foot were chopped off. Red blood flowed all over the ground, but no one cared about him at all. Feng Wuan's eyes were red. He kept struggling, but he couldn't do anything. There were subdued beastkins being thrown around him. Every beastkin's body was covered with wounds. Some of them had their hands and feet cut off, some had their scales cut. Each of them looked horrible. Even after some martial artists threw the female beastkins, they would remove their clothes and wantonly molest and insult them. The female beastkins were all beautiful and enchanting. The porcelain white skin was full of temptation. These martial artists stared straight at their bodies, and their faces were full of lust. Surrounded by Elder Fei, Eldertson and others, Golden Wolf walked slowly into the palace. When he saw the subdued beastkins, he showed a satisfied expression on his face. You guys did a good job. There was a gleam of joy on Elder Fei's face. He was about to speak, but Eldertson took a step forward and said, this is also thanks to the poison provided by President Liu. Those poisons are very effective on these beastkins. Most of their fighting power has been lost, so we were able to subdue them without much effort. Golden Wolf laughed and nodded heavily. These beastkins were important materials for making wood spiritual roots. It would be a pity if one or two died. Lu Xiang deserves most of the credit this time. When I get back, I will definitely report your credit with Lord. A trace of anger and unwillingness flashed across Elder Fei's face, but Eldertson smiled. He and Lu Xiang had formed an alliance. If Lu Xiang got the benefit, it would naturally benefit him as well. Golden Wolf walked slowly to the innermost floor of Toad Jade Palace, where Beastkin King retreated. There was a most powerful defensive enchantment here. No one could simply break into it. Chapter 1397, The Strength of the Demi-Divine Beast. Golden Wolf had a greedy look on his face when he thought that the rank 11 beastkin inside would soon become their experimental subject. He suddenly raised his voice and used spiritual power to transmit the voice into the retreat room. Beastkin King, if you don't want your people to die here one by one, you'd better remove the defensive barrier obediently. There was no sound in the retreat room. Those beastkins shouted frantically, King, don't bother about us. Don't come out. King, we would rather die. Please avenge us. Golden Wolf sneered, turned around and gestured to one of his subordinates. An expression of ecstasy immediately appeared on that subordinate's face. There was even burning desire in his eyes. He dragged a female beastkin to the front of the confinement room, then he pressed her under him as the female beastkin screamed and struggled frantically. Golden Wolf slowly said in a cold voice, Beastkin King, if you don't open the defensive barrier, I have no choice but to let my men enjoy this female beastkin in front of your door. This fox beastkin has a soft body and delicate skin. I believe my subordinates will have a great time playing it. Let go of me. Let me go. The female beastkin cried and struggled desperately, trying to transform into a beastkin, but she was powerless. Her face was full of despair. Seeing that disgusting human martial artists were about to possess her, the door of the confinement room suddenly opened. A young man in a red robe slowly came out of the dark room. His coquettish peach blossom eyes stared at Golden Wolf coldly with killing intent. Golden Wolf was taken aback for a moment. Looking at the young man's stunning appearance, a flash of surprise flashed in his eyes, then he laughed loudly, Beastkin King, I have long heard of your great name. The young man in a red robe's complexion was normal, except his originally bright red lips showed traces of dark purple. It was obvious that the poison of Sanskrit voodoo elusive silk had not been completely removed. He looked at Golden Wolf coldly, then he suddenly sneered and said, "The Sage King of God Domain has made it clear that martial artists in the high-level planes are not allowed to act freely in the low-level planes, otherwise you will be punished heavily. How dare you have the audacity to do this? As the people of the Siam continent, but you dare to come to the Miluo continent to act wildly." The Golden Wolf didn't show any fear on his face when he heard the words. Instead, he smiled even more wildly. "Whether we will be punished or not, Beastkin King doesn't have to worry about it. All I know is that before we are punished, Beastkin King, you will become our prisoner. And your people will also fall into our hands, ha ha ha." A cold killing intent flashed in the man in a red robe's eyes. Suddenly, his red brocade robe fluttered without wind. Then, the originally gorgeous and sturdy-toed Jade Palace was shaken for a while. The roof and wall tiles were overturned by a tornado-like force. Rumble, the devastatingly powerful Beastkin power swept with a radius of a few miles. All of Golden Wolf's subordinates showed terrified expressions. They desperately inserted their weapons into the ground, trying to stabilize their bodies, but they couldn't do anything. Even Elder Faye and Eldertson turned pale. They exhausted all their strength to be able to barely resist it. Is this the strength of the rank 11 Demi-Divine beast? Golden Wolf's eyes were flickering with shock, but more of it was greed and longing. If I can catch this rank 11 beastkin, my achievements will be unrivaled. Thinking of this, Golden Wolf suddenly roared, bursting out with a powerful aura and flew toward Beastkin King. There was a flash of light, and the sky and earth shook. Chapter 1398, Colorful Clouds. The short confrontation didn't even have time for 10 minutes, and a red figure flew out like a kite with a broken string, slamming into a broken wall. Beastkin King spat out a mouthful of blood. The originally shining peach blossom eyes became dull at this moment. His face was even paler than paper. Golden Wolf stood still in place. Looking at the young man in a red robe's distressed look, he laughed loudly. "The rank 11 Beastkin King is just so-so. You can't even withstand my one blow. Or is it because Lord Sanskrit Voodoo Elusive Silk is so powerful that you have no strength to resist?" The Beastkin King's body trembled slightly. He stared fiercely at the Golden Wolf with fierce killing intent in his eyes. Golden Wolf, on the other hand, gave a half-smile look at the Beastkin who was captured not far away. Many of these Beastkins were untied from their ropes, waiting for an opportunity to escape. TSK, what an admirable Beastkin King. Golden Wolf sneered sarcastically, "You can't even save myself, but you still want to save your own kind. But what a pity, can you really save them?" With that said, Golden Wolf gave an order to Eldertson with a smile, "Don't these Beastkins really want to run? Then sever their tendons. Anyway, all I want is their monster essence pill and inherited bloodline. Their Beastkin skins and tendons have no use to us." "Yes, sir." After Eldertson responded, he immediately instructed the subordinates, "Peel off the skins of those Beastkins and pull out their tendons as well." "You! How dare you!" Beastkin King's entire face was distorted. His eyes were burning with flames. If he could, he was willing to pay all the price and die with this group of humans. Golden Wolf laughed even more arrogantly, "What? You want to perish together with us? It's a pity that your cultivation is sealed by Sanskrit Voodoo Elusive Silk. It is impossible to dispel it within 8 hours. But after 8 hours, believe me, your people have already become a mass of flesh and blood." "Ah!" As if to confirm what Golden Wolf said, a little girl's miserable scream came from the Beastkins. Her skin was peeled off, and the man in black ruthlessly pulled her tendons out little by little. Beastkin King let out a roar, jumped up from the ground, and rushed toward Golden Wolf frantically. The destructive power shocked Golden Wolf. He stretched out his hand and dragged one of his subordinates to block without hesitation. With a tearing sound, the subordinate was instantly torn apart by the Beastkin King. However, after launching this attack, Beastkin King also fell to the ground, spat out a big mouthful of blood again, and was no longer able to fight back. Golden Wolf gasped for breath with lingering fear, then his eyes turned cold as he said angrily, "Pull out this damn beastkin's tendons first. I'll see what else he can do." The subordinates hurriedly obeyed and walked toward the Beastkin King cautiously. Beastkin King's eyes were red. He closed his eyes in despair. Is it fate that we Beastkins and the magical beast forest have to die here? At this moment, there was a rumbling thunder in the distance. Immediately afterward, in the direction of the confinement space, there was a colorful brilliance. It was captivating. The sky, which was originally only dim, was illuminated by this light like daytime. Then a colorful cloud floated slowly from the sky, covering the magical beast forest. Golden Wolf and others looked up at her in shock. People kept asking nervously what happened. Chapter 1399, Handover. The next moment, they saw that the colorful clouds turned into whirlpools and began to spin wildly. In the end, they turned into white whirlpool light balls that hurt people's eyes. What is this? What the hell is happening? Is this evil sun in the night? I remember that evil sun in the night once happened in Jinyao Kingdom. No. No, it's not evil sun in the night. Evil sun in the night only happens at midnight. After seeing the white ball of light clearly, Golden Wolf let out an exclamation. This is a breakthrough to the perfect gold core stage. It turns out to be a perfect stage breakthrough. How is this possible? Even our Lord, it is said that his breakthrough is only 70%. We can't even reach 50%. However, in this mere Miluo continent, there is actually someone who can reach the perfect stage breakthrough. Who? Who is it? The already desperate Beastkin King also raised his head at this time. Looking at the white vortexes, his eyes were first surprised, then he was astounded. No. This is not just a perfect stage breakthrough. Beastkin King looked around. He felt the joy of the vegetation, insects and birds in the forest, the celebration of all creatures. They were growing crazily. They were crazily eager to absorb power. It was as if the magical beast forest that had been dormant had suddenly come to life. What kind of power is this? Who is it that triggered such a terrifying and majestic force? In the confinement space. At the beginning, Heshi's retreat breakthrough did not attract the attention of others. Even Lu Jishi and the others paid more attention to the 2 bottles of medicine in Zheng Shouyue's hands. Seeing that all the people who took Xia medicine improved and became normal. All the people who had been bitten couldn't sit still and fled from Lu Jishi and the others to Huang Medical Branch one by one. Elder Qi's face was very ugly. He stretched out his hand and scratched his forearm. There was a scratch mark there once. Although it had been cured, he always felt itching constantly. He even started to feel a little numb now. He didn't know if it was his own delusion, but when he thought of the appearance of those people who went crazy, he had a spooky feeling. Elder Qi approached Lu Jishi and said in a low voice, "Jishi, I always feel that those of us who were scratched may have been infected with corpse puppet virus, but the effect is not so severe. If we can snatch Shiyu's medicine." Lu Jishi's face changed when she heard the words. In fact, she didn't feel it before Elder Qi mentioned it. As soon as Elder Qi said, she only felt that her face was itchy. She couldn't help stretching out her fingers to scratch it several times. But now, she just felt that scratching could no longer calm the itching. Could it be that I'm really infected? Lu Jishi shuddered at the thought of those people's hideous and mad appearances. She immediately agreed with Elder Qi's opinion. Hearing Lu Jishi's words, Zheng Shouyue frowned and said, "I only have 2 bottles of medicine in my hand. Of course, I have to give priority to treating those who have been bitten. Your corpse puppet virus won't trigger in a short time, so wait until Shiyu wakes up." Elder Qi was furious. "Zheng Shouyue, that medicine, you have to hand over." Compared with his own safety, the life and death of those students was none of his business. Since they were about to become monsters, it was better to kill them. Lu Jishi walked up to Shiyu, but Wei Chengyuan stopped her before she got close to Shiyu. Chapter 1400, being discovered, Lu Jishi said with an ugly face. Brother Wei, what do you mean? I just want Shiyu to provide more antidote medicine. It's good to save people, and it's what doctors should do. Why are you stopping me? Wei Chengyuan said with a blank face. Shiyu lost too much spiritual power in the magical beast battle just now. Now, she needs a little time to recuperate. You all saw it just now. Shiyu dragged his tired body to heal all of you, so she almost collapsed out of tiredness. Why can't he rest now? What's more, the virus on your body has not taken effect now. If you really want him to treat you, just wait for him to wake up. How can I wait for him to wake up? What if he refuses to treat me when he wakes up? What if my face is ruined by the virus? Lu Jishi's internal organs were all twisted together. Why does everyone support Shiyu? What's so good about him? Zheng Shouyue and Elder Qi were already fighting together. The students and elders of Miracle Healer Academy were also divided into two factions. Some of them panicked because they had scratches and hoped to get medicine. Some felt that the Doctors' Association was too much and would rather stand on the side of Huang Medical Branch. At this moment, a young man's clear voice suddenly came from the crowd. He seemed to raise his voice so that everyone could hear him. Is Brother Shiyu advancing? Great, Brother Shiyu is already so powerful at the Foundation Establishment stage, even the Gold Core stage is no match for him. If he advances to the Meridian stage, I believe we will be able to leave the confinement space. Moreover, no one in Miracle Healer Academy will be a match for Brother Shiyu in the future. The one who spoke was Tong Bing. As soon as these words came out, the entire confinement space fell silent instantly. The faces of Wei Chengyuan, Jin Ziyu, and others were extremely ugly. They kept looking at Shiyu pretending to be nonchalant because they just didn't want people to find out that she was advancing. Coupled with the tight defense of Purple Abyss Vine, that's why the aura didn't leak out. However, now that Tong Bing said it, everyone knew about it. So would those who want to be unfavorable to Shiyu miss this opportunity? The answer of Lu Jishi and others was, of course not. The elders of the Doctors' Association looked at each other with cruel and murderous intent on their faces. They came to the magical beast forest this time under the order of President Lu Xiang. The biggest objective was to take advantage of the chaos in the magical beast forest to get rid of Shiyu. In the beginning, none of them took such a kid from the Foundation Establishment stage seriously, thinking that killing her would be a matter of minutes. Who knew, in the end, they lost two nascent soul stage elders, but this kid was unscathed. Just like what the boy said just now, the Foundation Establishment stage was already so difficult to kill. If she successfully advanced, could they still complete the mission assigned to them? Thinking of this, the elders who were lazily watching the show gathered around Heshi one after another. Without the slightest hesitation, Wei Chengyuan and Jin Ziyu immediately stood in front of Heshi. People from Huang Medical Branch, including Zheng Shouyue, also rushed over. All of them looked nervous and shocked. Zheng Shouyue asked Jin Ziyu, Shiyu, is he really going to advance? Jin Ziyu nodded in silence. His eyes fixed on the elders of the Doctors' Association. Although their strength was far comparable to the nascent soul stage, Shiyu must be protected no matter what. Chapter 1401, No Mercy. Lu Jishi smiled slightly and said, Tong Bing, don't talk nonsense. How can people advance without taking medicinal pills? And it's still in such a dangerous place. I think we should wake Shiyu up. When he wakes up, everything will be clear. Tong Bing walked slowly to Lu Jishi's side, touched his head, and showed a shy and embarrassed smile on his face. Oh, I may be wrong. Right, how could Brother Shiyu advance in this kind of place? I think she must still have a lot of medicine to cure the corpse puppet virus. Let's wake him up first. Wei Chengyuan took a deep breath, glanced at Tong Bing and several elders of the Doctors' Association with a cold gaze, and said in a deep voice, Shiyu, she is indeed advancing, so you better not disturb her. Can your words prove anything? Elder Qi sneered, I think he's just acting because he doesn't want to treat us, right? Why don't you wake him up and let him tell us by himself? Qian Dazhuang said angrily, you know that if people who are advancing being disturbed, they will go crazy and their dantians will shatter. You know Shi Yu is advancing, but you want to wake him up. Are you trying to harm him? An elder surnamed Zhang in the Doctors' Association seemed to be the oldest and the highest in cultivation. He had reached the late stage of the nascent soul stage. At this time, he stroked his beard and smiled slightly, we are just concerned about student Shi Yu. Why don't we check it first? If he is really advancing, we will make a decision again. The long sword in Jin Ziyu's hand suddenly came out of its sheath. He slashed fiercely on the ground, until Shi Yu succeeds in advancing, no one is allowed to approach. Otherwise, don't blame me for not showing mercy. A mere kid at the gold core stage dares to say showing no mercy. Elder Zhang laughed. His voice was full of coldness and sarcasm. He suddenly stretched out his hand, take him down. Zheng Shouyue was trembling with anger, you want to sabotage Xiaoyu's advancement? You are too vicious. Aren't you afraid of suffering your own karma? Elder Qi sneered, what are you talking about? For the safety of Miracle Healer Academy students, we are just asking Shi Yu to hand over the antidote, we don't need you to represent us. A cold female voice sounded with anger. Han Qianer held a long sword. Her pretty face seemed to be covered with a layer of frost. She walked quickly in front of He and the others and said coldly, I was also scratched by the corpse puppet, and I'm indeed itchy, but I believe that as long as Shi Yu wakes up, he will treat us for free. This elder, are you more afraid of death than a little girl like me? Can't you even wait a little longer? You. Elder Qi's face turned livid at what she said. But Elder Zhang took a step forward, and he said with a sullen face, I remember, you are the little girl from the Han family, right? Before you speak out, you better think clearly. If your grandfather knows that you offended our Doctors' Association for such a kid, do you know what's going to happen to you? What's going to happen to your grandfather? Elder Qi immediately laughed and said, that's right, you'd better think about whether your Han family can afford to offend our Doctors' Association. However, if you are sensible, I can give you a chance. As long as you give me Shi Yu's head now, our Doctors' Association will give the resources for the Feng family to your Shui Yu sect Han family. How about that? Listening to their threats and lures, Han Qianer's frosty pretty face didn't change a bit. Chapter 1402, Drugged at the end, Han Qianer said coldly, I said these words and did these things because I wanted to do it. I'm just disgusted with what you did. It has nothing to do with Shi Yu, and it has nothing to do with the Han family. Even if you ruin the entire Han family, I will still say that. It's the most shameless act to sabotage other people's advancement. I stand up because I don't want someone to use such indecent means against me at my critical moment one day. Elder Zhang's face was extremely ugly. He never expected that Han Qianer, as a member of the Han family, would be so stubborn. Many students and elders of Miracle Healer Academy couldn't help standing up after listening to Han Qianer's words. Deputy Dean Jiang said with a serious face, if there is anything, wait until Shi Yu succeeds in the advancement. Shi Yu's talent was obvious to all in the academy. This might also be the only talent that Miracle Healer Academy had produced in thousands of years that could rival the upper realm. In addition to her relationship with Venerable Huiyu, how could Deputy Dean Jiang be willing to give up on her? The elders of the Doctors' Association glanced at each other with treacherous smiles. The arrogant Elder Qi looked at Deputy Dean Jiang and the others with a sneer, just a bunch of old fools, what right do you have to stand here and talk to us? Deputy Dean Jiang was taken aback for a moment, then burst into anger. Since he became a deputy dean, no one dared to be so arrogant to him. These Doctors' Association people had been arrogant and domineering since the very beginning, and they even threw people of their academy as bait. He had long been displeased with them. Deputy Dean Jiang said with a sullen face, then what right do you have to dispose of my students? You better understand that they are students of Miracle Healer Academy, not disciples of your Doctors' Association. Li Qingxuan, who had the hottest temper among the branch deans, yelled directly, I have long disliked these people of the Doctors' Association. Let's beat them to death together. Doctors Association still had nearly 10 nascent soul stage martial artists, but Miracle Healer Academy also had a lot of elders this time. Most of them were branch deans, so their strength was far beyond that of the Doctors Association. However, those members of the Doctors Association sneered. Seeing the elders of Miracle Healer Academy attacking them, they didn't look nervous or scared at all. A bad premonition passed through Deputy Dean Zhang's mind. Soon, his fears were confirmed. Li Qingxuan should easily defeat Elder Qi, whose strength was much lower than his. However, after Elder Qi launched his palm, Li Qingxuan suddenly spat out a mouthful of blood. He flew backward like a kite with a broken string. Dean Li. What the hell happened? Zheng Shouyue caught Li Qingxuan, who was flying over. Li Qingxuan's face was ashen. His eyes were full of anxiety and resentment when looking at Zheng Shouyue, as if he wanted to say something, but he finally passed out. Zheng Shouyue checked Li Qingxuan's pulse, and he was startled. He glanced at the people of the Doctors Association with fierce gaze. What have you all done? Elder Qi laughed loudly. Tisk tsk, you guys are the elders of Miracle Healer Academy? You only found out what we did now. After fighting the magical beast just now, when he took our medicinal pills, wasn't he very grateful to us? I didn't expect that a dean of the dignified Miracle Healer Academy didn't even know that he was drugged. What a bunch of trash. Chapter 1403, As well be hanged for a sheep as for a lamb. As soon as Elder Qi said this, all the students and elders of Miracle Healer Academy changed color. In the battle with the magical beast just now, no matter whether they were injured or not, they lost a lot of spiritual power and vitality. Therefore, except for those from Huang Medical Branch, most of the other students and elders took the medicinal pills given by the Doctors Association. However, they did not expect that these medicinal pills were actually poisoned. Deputy Dean Jiang tried to mobilize the spiritual power in his body, only to feel a colic pain in his dantian. He spat out a mouthful of blood. His face was very gloomy. He stared fiercely at Elder Qi and the others, gritted his teeth and said, You dare to use such despicable and insidious means, why? The Doctors Association and Miracle Healer Academy are always interdependent. Aren't you afraid that Miracle Healer Academy will break from the Doctors Association completely? Elder Qi sneered. His eyes full of contempt for looking at dead things. Elder Zhang coughed and said slowly, Of course, the Doctors Association and Miracle Healer Academy are closely related, and our relationship will become even closer in the future, especially when our president becomes the Dean of Miracle Healer Academy. As for what happened today. Deputy Dean Jiang, what you are suffering from is President Lu's unique poison, Spirit Lock Pill. Without President Lu's antidote, you all will slowly lose your cultivation and finally die of pain. I believe you deans must know how to choose. This is a threat. A naked threat. The ambitions of Lu Xiyang and the Doctors Association were too great. They not only wanted Shiyu to die, but they also wanted to take this opportunity to control most of the students and elders of Miracle Healer Academy so that they could control the entire Miracle Healer Academy. Even if some elders here didn't want to submit, most people's lives were in the hands of the Doctors Association. They were completely helpless. Deputy Dean Zhang's face was extremely ugly. He wanted to act recklessly, but the colic pain in the dantian and the fearful expressions of those students, all made him swallow his anger back. In Huang Medical Branch, someone suddenly said coldly, Lu Zhishi, do you consider yourself a student of Miracle Healer Academy? You actually collude with outsiders to deal with your classmates and teachers like this. Where is your humanity? Lu Zhishi frowned. Her face showed a sad expression as she said softly, This student, please don't slander me, Ba. Who slandered you? Qian Dazhuang's loud voice interrupted Lu Zhishi's acting. Don't tell me you don't know what the Doctors Association did? Okay. If you are really innocent, just let them hand out the antidote immediately. Aren't you Lu Xiyang's daughter? Don't they all listen to you? Lu Zhishi's face turned uncertain. The people from Miracle Healer Academy all set their eyes on her. There was no longer respect and admiration in the past, only doubts and anger. The good reputation and prestige I had accumulated in Miracle Healer Academy are completely ruined at once. All of this is caused by Shiyu. Since this is the case now, as well be hanged for a sheep as for a lamb, I must get rid of Siya, the scourge. Lu Jishi took a deep breath and said coldly, I don't want to explain too much now. Our Doctors Association is doing this for everyone's benefit. The traitor Shiyu colluded with the magical beasts and betrayed mankind. We must get rid of her. Chapter 1404, and me, now I declare, whoever kills Shiyu first, I will give him the antidote of the spirit lock pill. In the future, when my father takes over the academy, you will also be valued. Whether you are an elder or a student, after getting rid of Shiyu, you will understand my painstaking efforts. With that said, Lu Jishi waved her hand and made an eye gesture at the elders of the Doctors Association behind her. Who dares to touch my student? Over my dead body. Zheng Shouyue roared and rushed toward the elders of the Doctors Association. The scene was completely chaotic for a while. The strength of the Huang medical branch's people was low, so the nascent soul stage didn't care about them at all. However, they seemed to have made up their minds to risk their lives to protect Shiyu, not letting anyone get close. Most of the students and elders of Miracle Healer Academy stood aside with ugly faces, not helping each other. But there were also those, who were afraid of death and yearned for power, stood on the side of the Doctors Association. The strength of the two parties was too far apart, so no one thought that the Huang medical branch had the possibility of successfully protecting Shiyu. But at this time, the people of the Doctors Association still looked ugly. Because they were really blocked by two gold core stage students. Wei Chengyuan and Jin Ziyu had arranged a complex array when Shiyu started to retreat. At this time, all the people of Huang medical branch stood at the array eyes and resisted desperately. Elder Qi slashed fiercely with the long sword. The array swayed violently. Zhang Chong, who was guarding the array eye, was unstable for a while, and blood overflowed from his mouth, but his feet remained still. Do you really think a trash array can stop us? Elder Qi said angrily, Wei Chengyuan, we are giving you face for your master's sake. If you insist on stopping us, don't blame us for being rude. And you trash of the Huang medical branch, just hand over Shiyu obediently. Otherwise, I will let you all die here tragically. Wei Chengyuan didn't speak, but with a pale face, he channeled the spiritual power that was about to be exhausted again to maintain the array. The eyes of several Doctors Association elders showed vicious determination. Then, they suddenly stood in a row with their hands pressed against each other. Spiritual power was circulating among them, and their cold and mocking eyes glanced at everyone of the Huang medical branch. Seeing this scene, Zheng Shouyue suddenly exclaimed, No, you guys dodge. However, it was already too late. Elder Zhang on the front shouted and launched the spiritual power that gathered at his palms. There was a loud noise. The array, which was about to collapse, was shattered in the violent shock. Wei Chengyuan and Jin Ziyu both fell to the ground, spurting a mouthful of blood. The rest of the Huang medical branch were not much better either. Each of them felt burning pain in the dantian, and their blood was surging. They couldn't even stand up. Elder Qi laughed out loud watching this scene, and he rushed toward Heshi impatiently. He must be the first to kill Shiyu so that when the president gave the reward, he would be the biggest contributor. However, just as Elder Qi took a few steps, his legs were dragged by someone. Jin Ziyu lay on the ground, tightly grabbing his legs. His voice was hoarse and determined. I said, as long as I'm still alive, no one can get close to Shiyu. And me. Qian Dazhuang rushed over, hugged Elder Qi's thigh, and bit hard. You're tuning in to the Blissful Bookshelf YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.